I think today's going to be incredible. We have two very exciting series and very different, I would say, as well. Typically, Puppy and Marine Lord are your meta setters in a way, right? They know what works, what doesn't work, and they will play towards the stronger strategies in most games. Whereas B and CSO, well, they think a little bit outside the box, don't they, Sokoton? As we've come to see from them historically, not only against each other, but also against other players as well. They definitely play things a little bit differently than most players, and how they will do with that strategy one against the other, that's a difficult one to
Yeah,
call.
they're definitely meta breakers in a way. They definitely think out, like we said, they think outside the box. They I would say they're disruptors in a way, right? I mean, I remember some of the a couple of years back, just some of the crazy things and shenanigans B would do in these large tournaments. You know, he's been a trendsetter in many things and trying out new things. Whereas you're right, Marine Lord and Puppy Paw a lot more on consistent with the meta. So this series should be pretty interesting. One thing to note too is these two players have met before in a tournament setting, but B I think has won just about every single game. I know he's taken every series over CSO up to this point. They've only played a couple times, but I'm pretty sure it's been just all B all around. Looks like CSO has taken at least a game. So of the 10 games they've played, CSO has taken one. Otherwise, it's been all B, which, I mean, with how good B is, I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised by that. So CSO's got his work cut out for him today, but it is a best of 7, so a lot can happen in that. And I'm sure he's hoping to do what he can.
Absolutely. I mean, B's a veteran, right, of RTS as well as AoE4, so he's been here since the very beginning. And as a result, you can see the results of his speak for themselves, especially against CSO. I mean, CSO is a bit more of a rising star, right? He has been around for about a year or two now, but especially lately, he's been coming online, so to say, more often than before, and practicing a lot harder than he has in the past as well. And he definitely showed how that pays off yesterday, right? Beating Anatan, no easy feat whatsoever, especially with Anatan being the favorite and being a incredible player himself, having risen through the ranks a lot throughout the years too, and taking him down is, I mean, this makes so far CSO's best performance ever in an AoE4 tournament.
Exactly, and that was what I wanted to touch on, is even though the lifetime statistics against B don't look good for CSO, you can't use past performance as a future projection when you've been rising in the ranks, right? When you've been on a kind of a charge up in the leaderboard, you could say, you can't just look at past performance and go, oh, well, you lost before, that means you're going to lose this time. That's not the case. I mean, CSO looks like he's been putting in a lot of work leading up to this tournament, has been really performing very, very well throughout. I mean, beating Anatan, again, like you said, no small feat. And so to come in today, he gets the chance to see just how good he is, though, because B, I think if most people were to give their top 3, top 4 players, B is usually in that conversation. So CSO has a chance to try and take down one of the top dogs today. And let's take a look at the drafts. So on B's side, looks like he's going to have, let's see, a banned was Roos and HRE banned for both players. But B has selected, looks like Joan of Arc, Ayyubids, Delhi, and Ottomans, and Chinese. And he's opting with Byzantines as well as his pick to start off on Baldland. Meanwhile, CSO has Zushis, French, Mongols, which he's using right here on Baldland, and KT, Knights Templar, House Lancaster, and Malians. I mean, we've seen these civs pop up again and again and again throughout the tournaments too. I'm looking at like Malians, Zushis, China, with HRE and Roos usually just universally just being sniped on either side. Should be a fun matchup. And here we're going to be starting out here in just a minute on Baldland, Byzantines and Mongols. What are you expecting out of that matchup, Myriad?
It's an interesting one for sure. I mean, historically, this has been very, very good for Mongols. It's even when Biz were sort of at their height, not too long after their release, Mongol was one of those thorns in their sides because Biz, they have a very slow setup time compared to a lot of civilizations. They have a very powerful economy and a very strong army, but it takes a little while to get there. They're a bit akin to sort of an old school Ottomans in that regard. And any civ that can put a thorn in that start, such as the Mongols with a tower rush, namely, especially on a map like this with very small wood lines, it's very open. Biz, I think, has their work cut out for them here, but we're talking about B after all, right? More unusual
it's
shenanigans.
so hard when it gets to the top of this level, and when these players get so good. you kind of look at all the disadvantages they might have, even with a bad spawn, you just kind of expect B to be difficult to put out. But yeah, like you said, Mongols is a pretty fun pick against Byzantines on this map. Just so open, so easy to raid, not easy to wall in and be secure. I expect to see a pretty high octane game on this one to start out. I bet we'll see a lot of aggression out of this. But of course, you know, with these players being so unorthodox in so many ways, who's to say what they'll really do? They can always pull a rabbit out of a hat and confuse you, but should be a fun one. We're about to dive in here. Again, we're watching the Elite Classic 3 hosted by EGC TV. Again, I'm Sock, and that's Myriad over there. As we dive on into game number 1 of this series. In the green, as Byzantine 3DB playing here in the south side, and in the north, CSO in the orange as the Mongol.
And straight away we see the start already differing from the norms for B in this instance, right? Mill onto the berries. Cistern will go up soon to boost that as well. Once the mining camp is completed, that will give you just enough stone to get that first cistern up. Of course, it is 8 stone per 2x2 tower building, as the mill, house, and mining camp all are. Eventually, you'll get the 124 needed for the cistern. Starting berries here can be quite interesting for B in this regard, because notably, as the spears do come in, they historically look to tower rush those berries to deny any kind of gathering from there once the Grand Winery is completed. However, starting this way, B will be able to get himself all the oil he needs for at least one batch of mercenaries, without having a fear of being pushed off of it prematurely. However, as a result, the Grand Winery loses quite a bit of value, right? Because, well, you've already gathered some of the berries initially, so putting the winery there, despite it potentially being towered and half exhausted, may cause it to not be as prudent of a choice as it normally would be, and that might make Hippodrome much likelier in this instance.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see a Hippodrome come into this. I mean, we see the barracks. I don't know. You go Hippodrome on that? Is that worth? I'm not. I mean, you tell me. I feel like it could be a risky play with the spears coming out early, but as we do see, the tower rush is beginning for CSO.
Yeah, the Hippodrome's interesting in this kind of a situation because, just as you said, there are spears on the field already. There are spears near the tower that's about to be built as the villager is heading across the map now from CSO. And then there's threat of spears, obviously, on your gold and in CSO's base as well. However, if B does get the Hippodrome and does manage to get some horsemen up, he will have a substantial advantage in age-up timing, right? So, hypothetically, he can get out some horsemen, get it across the map towards CSO's Uvu, and start torching it down. And this forces CSO into a difficult position, because does he then reinvest into spears to defend up against the Hippodrome, or does he pull potentially back spears from the tower that he put on the forward to defend, right? So it forces a split attention situation from CSO that might work out to B's favor. And yep, here it comes. Hippodrome on the way with 4 villagers now.
Sure enough, as he predicted. And the spears coming in, trying to shoo them off the berries as they can. That tower looks like it will go up.
Yeah, realistically, there's not much B can do to stop this. I mean, Byzantines have some decent tools here to potentially deny this tower, namely the Akratoi defense from the cistern can boost the villager's strength immensely, allowing them to maybe get a surround on that villager and even fight the spears. Of course, the trade-off for that will be a substantial amount of idle time, which at this point in time in the game especially can really, really hurt the Biz economy, especially noting that it is so much slower than most other civs to set up. So whether B tries to stop this, we'll have to see, but I feel like if he would have, he probably would have done it by now, right? So
I like the far gold away there for him to be mining. I like that it's nice in the corner, nice and safe for CSO. Power rush underway. Spears trying to get that extra gold from the mining camp.
Yeah, B might not want to let this go down, right? Any kind of bounty you give over to the Mongols does add up pretty quickly. It's a lot of resources. So you definitely want to avoid giving that over if you can. Now, repairing the mining camp will be a bit of a drain on B's wood at this point in time, which is wood that he most likely needs to get archery range up. And yeah, there we go. The bounty does go over to CSO. 25 wood, 25 food, and 25 gold over to him now from torching that mining camp. Now B is going to repair this, but unfortunately he was just a little bit too short on the draw.
Yeah, at this point, like, it's not even about getting it down. It's just about getting that 50 resources. It'd be kind of fun to see Expelliarmus, I think it is, if for Byzantines, getting some of that gold back by killing some villagers. That'd be kind of fun if they both keep raiding for some bounty on either side. We do see barracks coming up for B, so we'll see some Limitane coming out shortly.
Yeah, so Limitane and Horseman will be the choice here for B. Only one Horseman out on the field for now, but we do see 553 olive oil in the bank for him now, right? So he did manage to get up all the necessary olive oil he needs for any mercs of his choosing once he does opt for the mercenary camp. And
I was going to ask you too, Myriad, what do you think his choice will be on the mercenary camp when he goes for it?
Yeah, it's a good question. He does actually have the trade post very close to him. That is something he might opt for. Now, it's a bit of a tough situation to do so, specifically because of, so we do have Jugenu and Elephants in that. So I don't really see him opting for that. The problem, although Jugenu is a very strong unit, their lack of mobility on a map like this can be detrimental. So most likely
I wouldn't
longbows.
mind seeing some elephants later, though. I wouldn't mind seeing an elephant later. I could see that being a possibility, but he's got to get to that point.
Yeah, that would be the tough part, right? Surviving until that point. But I mean, B is likely just going to keep it pretty standard here in terms of mercs. Obviously, up against the Mongols, Keshiks lose a lot of value because you can just get outmassed in terms of Keshiks. Whereas longbows and Javs are both very, very solid options here. Longbows, of course, quite good all around, whereas the Javs specifically will deal with any kind of Mangudai shenanigans from CSO.
This is a good read right here. This is a good little read right here. Finding the gold, the Horseman trying to get some damage as he can, poking, but thankfully for CSO, Spearman already on the case defending that line. But now, at any rate, B knows it exists, so I'm sure he'll be coming back to that point a couple times later. You see the first cistern, second cistern coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. It was smart of B to check over there, right? On this map, Borderlands, it quite often be quite a decent number of resources spawning safely in the back of your base. You see, there's quite a lot of space in the back of bases on this map in particular. So, as a result, quite a few resources spawned there as well. And good for CSO, a gold spawned right there for him, whereas his Uvu and Woodline are all safe under the TC. And now the gold is safe behind as well. Yeah.
Now there's two spears on that, but you can tell B is going to want to keep trying to poke at that as much as he can. He's going to want to get back to that. Eventually, he might be able to find some damage there. All it takes is one slip up by CSO, and he's going to lose a couple. I like the pressure, though. This is one of the smart things to do if you're B, is to try and keep up pressure, keep CSO focused on that back line there.
You have to, right? You can't really let the Mongols just do their thing in this kind of a situation when you do have this age-up tempo that B had. The Horsemen are really going to pay dividends for him here in keeping CSO distracted on his side of the map, whilst B just keeps getting himself further set up, getting down more
This
systems.
one might go down, though.
Ooh,
and a Horseman down. Spears catch him unaware there. And that's kind of the beauty of having two sitting on the gold, is it's just enough to kind of stop him and then do just enough damage. If it was one spear, I don't think he'd be able to do it. But with two, as we see another engagement, this one's going to go down, however, as the Keshik healing themselves as they stab, vampiring the life away out of that poor Limitane, and they're probably going to get the second one here as they get the charge off.
Good little value
out
here.
Behind, that's going to go down.
Yeah.
Nice little pickups from CSO.
Yeah, it works out very well in his favor here, right? I mean, two spears down, a Horseman down here, a lot of space being acquired by him in this situation. However, I'm not sure if B minds too much, as the cisterns are being added now. Level 3 on the way, more active stone gathering with 3 villages at this point in time. That's a lot of stone being taken. So the more these cistern water levels start to increase, the stronger B's economy will get, and the scarier at the same time. So CSO might be finding himself under a little bit of pressure here to make something happen, as he sees B moving out onto berries as well.
Yeah, we see the army masses starting to grow for both sides here. I like we got kind of a 1-1-1 comp of sorts for B, as he's got those javelin throwers with Limitane and the Horseman. Kind of a tricky thing to poke into, as we see CSO kind of wrapping around the wood line. Now, that's another thing to consider, is the wood line is about to run out. That's not going to be lasting very much longer here for B. Wood is always a consideration on this map, because you get those larger wood lines in the more towards the middle of the map, but they're just not safe. So you get these little pockets he's got to go out for. Mongols obviously has an easier time of it with the TC being so much closer, but you got to wonder if that's going to be a point of contention as we go on.
Wouldn't surprise me at all, especially now considering we have heavy military investment from both players, right? It was in fact the Keshik contract choice for B in this game, so it is going to be Keshik's that he's going to be able to mount out. And with the Hippodrome, there's a lot of value. But now, raid comes in from CSO. One villager goes down straight away, and the villagers are forced off of the stone. The berries are under threat as well. There's 5 villagers there, but no tower to shelter them.
That, there's two berry vills that are berries that have to worry about that. As both packs have to start running back for home, villagers going to start going down. Oh, and the Keshiks get a good wrap up on them. Somehow they only lose 1. Spears, Limited coming in, archers, everything trying to come and push this back out. But what a raid from CSO. Those Keshiks, I don't think he lost a single one. All of them staying alive as they push in, pulling out at the perfect time. And the reinforcements to boot, gathering around that tower. You know, that's the frustrating thing about those forward towers when you start getting dropped by Mongols, is that they just kind of rally back underneath them. But on the back line, can't forget, those horsemen know that that gold exists up in the north corner, wrapping around, looking to get some more kills if they can.
Yeah, be looking to do a 1-2 and get his own damage back in turn. There are 3 space here, but plenty of horsemen and Keshiks here to deal with this, especially as the Hippodrome gets actually activated here, just to be able to defeat the spears. I'm not quite sure whether that's worth it here for B. He's going to go for the villagers now. Charge comes in onto the forward villagers there. He realizes he will not catch up to them, so now instead goes for the back ones. One does go down. Second one might... No, not quite. He decides not to commit.
Feels like a bit of a wash there. He lost the 2 horsemen, killed the spears, but only got 1 villager for the effort. And right now it's 1 vill kill to 6 at the moment. So feels kind of, even the Gur is now going to have to pack up and leave as well.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure B is entirely happy with that trade there, right? As you mentioned, he lost a few of the horsemen, and on top of it, most importantly, he was forced to activate his juicy triumph from the Hippodrome, right? That full-length triumph that can be so pivotal when it comes to engagement. I'm sure CSO saw that. Now you can see only 2 supply tickets left for the Triumph. And when it comes to a pitched fight soon enough, which CSO is definitely on his way to forcing due to the heavy investment into units, it might really hurt B.
Yeah, CSO feels like he's in a pretty decent spot right here. Again, that forward tower, that outpost he has, is such a great rallying point as he wraps the military back around looking for those berries once again. This time, though, B has his military there and not many villagers on those berries either. You see those horsemen in catch of his own still just trying to be pesky as he already kind of sniffs out that that CSO is on the other gold now. They're getting shooed away, however, by the Keshiks of CSO. Do you think those Keshiks feel like they're Keshiks for the Byzantines are traitors right now?
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? It's a good thing you mentioned the tower, rightfully so, because if B does not find the window to take down that tower, as he did not in this game, then it does serve as a staging area for CSO's forward army from here on out, and that's exactly what he's using it for, right? The tower is currently impenetrable for him, and of course he didn't go winery, so he doesn't mind as much as he would in a winery game, still being able to gather at least most of those berries to get himself the Keshiks. However, still a lot of vision being provided.
It's just a rally point, right?
Yeah,
it's more than it's like just a really good rally point, and it's just a forward operating base of sorts that he doesn't need to fall back very far where the Limited A can't go. You see that he's really sitting out. He really parked on those berries. He does not want those Keshiks to get back on there.
Yeah, this is the risk you take.
Prod anyways.
Ooh. We do have an engagement about to occur as the Limitane are in position to defend against the Keshiks, but there are archers there as well. Not too many, but enough to push them back. And again, B is idled on the berries. That's the risk you take here with Byzantines, right? There are a lot of safe berries close to your base, but the lack of sizable wood lines, lack of ability to wall effectively on this map, means that there's a lot of places for you to be hit and take raiding damage, losing villages. And that's what CSO is attempting to utilize here due to the heavy cavalry priority from him, right? 16 Keshiks on the field now, more in queue, as well as archers to back them up. He has to be super careful.
This could be really dangerous for CSO. Not enough units to really defend this. The spears are going to do some pretty good work. The Triumph coming in. That tower goes up, but the villagers still have to flee. Meanwhile, being pushed into his own base. Yeah, that gold vein is clear. Do they have to start moving back somewhere else?
Yeah, trouble here for CSO.
Yeah, but B also kind of backed up into his own base, having to watch out. He doesn't have a really good answer for those archers right now. The horsemen having a hard time getting to him. CSO backing up at the perfect time, just taking great engagements here in the base of 3DB. Meanwhile, losing his horses on the gold vein. So not only is CSO pushing well into B's base, he's also defending his own pretty well.
Exactly, a decent portion of those Keshiks and horsemen on CSO's gold did go down to those spears, right? And no villager damage besides some idle time caused by B on that side with that attack. And as you mentioned, it's a tough position now for B, right? He has somewhat of a Tricon position going here, which in theory should do pretty well, but the mass from CSO is starting to look very, very overwhelming. Not only does he have the Archer lead, but he has a substantial Keshik lead, and 16 Keshiks to 19 Limitana is not the kind of ratio you want, even though they might not be as strong as regular Knights. Keshik's wrapping around the back here, looking for another engagement. They get a pretty decent one here. Two of B's Keshiks almost go down, one does, the other one is very, very low. And this back and forth here is so hurtful for B. This idle time really starts to add up.
Yeah, it definitely feels like CSO is doing an excellent job of pulling back right when he needs to pull back. Like he's in there when he needs to be in there, getting some good small... He's engaging small groups of B's units and then pulling back right as the main mass finally arrives. And that mass is pretty slow. Those Limitanae are not fast. So speed is very much in CSO's side, and he's using it very well. You see archers now picking off the archers and hopefully Limitanae for CSO if he can do that. Pushing in a little bit more. And now the eco with the 5 cisterns now, B is, if he can get his eco situated, it's going to be really powerful. The problem is he's got no farm set up, and once those resources of food dry up, I don't know what he's going to do.
It's true, level 5 cistern is so substantial here for B, right? It's definitely what he was looking for this entire time, so his economy is going to start propelling forward. But the issue is, what price did you pay to get into this position with the 5 cisterns? 7 villages down, the army count and value severely favoring CSO at this point in time. If B is able to stem the tides of war here, he might in fact crawl himself back into the game, but CSO is doing an excellent job of just being on all sides. B, however, if he gets a good engagement with his Tricon position, gets a few more Keshiks and Horsemen, he might be back in it.
Oh, but he's not going to get it. A good dive coming in from B as he lands onto the archers, gets a couple vills for the effort, and pulls back again at the perfect time. He is just nickel and diming B here. And you know, you just feel like B is such a good player. You just wonder if he can pull us back as they kind of wrap around. Archers dealing with his Limitanae, Keshik's dealing with the archers. This could be kind of tricky. Has to pull back a little bit. Kind of an even fight there, but the Limitanae number's thinning out very rapidly here.
Yes, it's a tough engagement in those choke points, even with such an overwhelming Keshik mass, so CSO had to be careful, but instead, he pulls away, goes to the back of B's base, fights the economy. So many villages idle now for B. Akadai defense gets activated in a desperate defense. So many, only 3 went down, so not too bad of a defense here for B, but the idle time is the main problem here. You see, no food in the bank, no gold gathering, not too much wood left either. Unit production has completely halted, Sokoton.
And he's just still diving again and again and again. He does not mind it. He's not losing that many Keshiks doing this. We see 1 or 2 have gone down in the back line, but the idle time alone, when you're idling 30 villagers and killing off the enemy's units, what more can you ask for? And then he's taking great engagements in the front as well. Archer's backing up a little bit now, but they're sitting on the gold. B has just no resources to his name right now. Meanwhile, on the back of this, CSO's got 800, almost 900 gold. He just needs the food and he can almost castle.
Absolutely, and whether he decides to go for the castle here or recommit into an even, it might look to be a recommitment as 3 more Keshiks sync you up to 33 archers and more being added. And CSO is quickly looking to cement his reputation as one of the most dangerous raiders in the scene right now, as he has been highlighted to be in the past as well. Such an incredible placement and precision finding these openings, and you know, the map definitely working in his favor. Good choice here to pick up the Mongols, and nice snipe against B's Byzantines to use that mobility in his advantage against a defensive civ like the Byzantines, and doing it so well. Now B, still not out of this game, right? He still has a decent military, but the army count and the army value especially is looking heavily against him.
Yeah, he's trying to get into those farms. We take an engagement right here. Yeah, it feels like both players don't really want to take this full fight just right this minute. Archer mass from CSO looking pretty critical right now. At this point, though, you see the olive grove is being placed by B. He's spent as much as he can because he ran out of food. That was what I was wondering, is what does he do when he runs out of food? Does he have enough wood? He does have some on there, but it just feels like he's just stuck where he's at. He can't go castle. He can barely keep up enough units right now. Meanwhile, CSO, he really almost does have the resources to keep pumping up and go up to castle. He's got 1,100 gold.
Yeah, a lot of gold in the bank here for him, right? I was wondering exactly. I think he sent the villagers onto gold in anticipation of going for a castle age. However, he decided to reinvest as a result and maybe did not adjust his gold villages in turn. But it's such a tough spot here for B. The issue is, you can try to play archer on archer, But the reality is, with their stones, these archers, CSO's archers, sorry, as the Mongols, are just superior. They have more range. They have the Khan arrow as well, which now gets activated as CSO looks to make a desperate dive forward. Well, not so much desperate as game determining in this instance. As he pushes ever forward, the Keshiks, not too many of them left alive, but these archers are pretty much only B. The only thing B has left to his name besides the 5 Keshiks, which are looking for some raids at this point in time. But so much of B's economy is idle again. Yeah, so wrapping around the back of the base, trying to find more villages at this point in time, and find them he will.
Yeah, I just don't see, I don't see the road to victory anymore for B. It's looking dire. Villagers on the run. And it just feels like the Mongols are just doing what Mongols do best. They're just everywhere. They're raiding, they're killing, they're pillaging. I mean, what more do they need to do to close this game out? I don't know, but we see the villagers pulling out the Akratoy defense. Last stand is a go, trying to take down the Keshiks. They're taking them down one by one, but the amount of kills are just racking up.
What
so many weak villagers, archers just having a field day as it's an absolute slaughter. And if you're a CSO, you take this trade all day. I mean, 20 vill kills to 1. This game is pretty much over. And there's GG called. B realizes it. And the second time in CSO's history here, he has taken a game from B and starts a really crucial game 1 to start off the series. I mean, obviously the reverse sweep can always happen, but taking that first game, what a confidence boost it must be for CSO. And it was a pretty decently close game, but man, he really kind of built that lead, took a couple of good fights, did what Mongols did best, and just played the map and took the win.
Big win here for CSO in game number 1. And I mean, we see here why Mongols has done so well against Biz in the past, and that might be even more so the case today, thanks to the system changes that Byzantines have went through. It forces them to play out for that stone earlier than they would like in order to use the cheaper systems that they have in the mid game as opposed to earlier in the game with those initial ones. So it really inspires them to go out onto these berries and pocket food in order to boost their olive oil income. But the result of that is that the economy is spread out and thinly protected. And on maps like this, especially where there's so much room to maneuver, the additional mobility that CSO has on the Mongols utilized perfectly in this game to secure him the win.
Yeah, I feel like this was just a matter of just taking good fights. And this is something I feel like I struggle with personally as a player, but man, like he just knew when to peel off a couple units. He picked off 3D beast like units. He'd find a small group and CSO would just raid that small little group of units. And then when the main mass of B would come up, CSO would just back off. Like he just kept finding these perfect engagements where he could swallow up a couple of units and then back away before taking the big engagement that wouldn't have gone his way. So his ability to push in just enough to do damage and then back up before he takes any major losses himself really paid dividends as he kept doing it again and again and again and sitting on those outside food resources so that eventually B just had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, and it was just so intelligent of him to, I'm not sure if it's something he anticipated or predicted, but sniping the Byzantines pick on first map with Mongols, absolutely incredible. That's exactly what you want to see as a Mongol player, especially on a map like this where you know that you can use your mobility and your strong early game prowess to bully the Byzantines off of the berries, off of the gold, keep them running around their base, idle the villages, and that idle time just keeps adding up, right? As we saw it here. However, the second game is getting ready to get underway, just under a minute to go now, and we have 2 staple civilizations of Enlightened Horizon by now. KT up against Ottomans.
Yeah, it's always fun when you see certain maps just have their own meta civs, and these 2 definitely feel like the meta civs for this map. Should be a fun engagement. I fully expect to see that fun build where they go to the barracks, go find the wolves, burn that den down, get some gold. It's been fun watching the interactions because sometimes they'll try to disrupt the other player from doing that. So I'm excited to see what kind of craziness ensues with B and CSO on this one. And you got to imagine B is a little not happy with game number 1. Obviously, we don't talk about this too often, but like the draft picks and how you draft is such a skill into its own, and how you manage to pick your civs and try to kind of read the mind of your opponent's civ. I really feel like Baldland was just a great example of CSO picking a great civ for that map, knowing what to expect from his opponent, and then executing the game plan really well on top of that. But we are about to jump into game number 2 of our best of 7 series here. CSO is up by 1. we dive into Enlightened Horizon with CSO again in the orange playing as Knights Templar and B in the green as Ottomans. And man, that just warms my heart to see green and Ottomans combined together. It just feels right.
Right, it is indeed. As is the opening for B in this case. The barracks straight away onto the merchant camp, being captured by the villager as he does his building, house to follow up in turn. However, CSO not opting for the same on the other side. He does opt for his own barracks, but does not place it forward onto the merchant camp, and this is a new development that we have seen, right? Ottomans have a very, very strong Dark Age in terms of spear mass that they're able to get out. In fact, we might see be potentially about a minute down the line opting for a military school as well, potentially. But we'll have to see. And, you know, if Knights Templar do put their barracks onto the merchant camp, they do risk getting overwhelmed, especially if the Dark Age is very extended. And even Imams, potentially, or a Mehter, come into play to further boost those spears. So he's gone up for the safe route and actually skips the merchant camp directly and just goes straight for the wolf den.
I think it's interesting that B sent his spear straight over, anticipating the barracks drop. So he was trying to pull the read. So CSO already adapting to that, like you mentioned, already kind of playing around that, knowing what could happen, kind of seeding the merchant camp to B, but going straight for the wolves instead. And honestly, this early on, I think that might be just the bigger prize, is to get that initial boost of gold. Meanwhile, B not going to get that initial bit of gold as he's sitting there trying to get the market up instead. Interesting play. I'd have to do a little bit of math on, paper napkin math to see what's the better way to go. What's going to give you more resources? As now the spear is looking to go try and snipe. This is interesting. They're going to go try and snipe the den from CSO. And, he's got more spears here. Maybe he could. All you have to do is land that last blow that lights it on fire.
It's true. Only one torch perfectly timed is all it takes for B here to be able to steal that gold and secure himself what is essentially a free age up at this point in time. He skips.
It's going to be close. Here they come in.
Wolves.
Coming in. And they're just going to try and snipe it. Oh, he just doesn't get it. CSO just getting it in time. That was really, really close. And the spears now and the wolves turn against them as they have to run home. But already, even though spears die, at this point, CSO must be sighing a bit of a breath of relief going, whew, that was close. And he's happy to get the resources for it.
He's happy to get the gold, but the issue is that his merchant camp is still under B's control, right? And every single one of those merchant camps is a whole villager's worth of passive income. So B had 2 villagers at this point in time for a little while already. And the spear is still favoring him at this point in time. He does lose one nice micro there by the CSO to pick up the last spear. CSO has his own low spear being chased by B's back towards his base. Still, even losing that gold, I'm pretty sure B is pretty happy with the situation as is currently.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know what more CSO could do here. I think he's glad he got. If he'd have lost the gold from the den, that would have felt incredibly bad. That said, I think he kind of knew going into this matchup that he's not going to be able to hold on to this camp. He's going to need to wait for B to leave. He's going to have to give them that slight resource edge, then go take it back later. But I think you're okay with that because a little bit of passive income that you can get back for yourself, it's not ideal, but you got the initial windfall of gold. That was critical for this build. We see the spears, of course, heading back over now, trying to maybe finally recapture that. It looks like they should be able to get there now. I don't think the spears from B are in the vicinity anymore. They have left the area.
Yes, B is going to opt for his own wolf den at this point in time, right? And it's a good thing you mentioned the additional goal because it does lead to a really, really nice age-up timing here for CSO, right? Way, way ahead of B, who himself actually has to use villages to age up. So CSO's economy is going to be in a slightly cozier spot as opposed to him. I'm quite excited to see what he opts for. He did go for the Kingdom of France in order to unlock the Chevalier Confrère as an access point here in Feudal. Now with so many spears on the field for B.
By the way, I can't say it like that. I'm gonna let you just say every time. I'm just gonna stop and let you fill in the blank whenever I'm talking about them because I can't.
If you're mid-fight and you're about to say the name, just do like a stop and I can say it for you. Yeah.
There we go. I do not speak French. I do speak a couple of languages. I do not speak French. That is not one of them, unfortunately for me.
It's one of the perks of phonetics, Like if you grow up with a phonetic language, it's a bit easier to say. That's kind of all it is.
English is anything but phonetic here.
Yeah.
Looks like that camp is almost lit on fire. There's something kind of funny about a stone wolf den being lit on fire. That's like, when you're watching right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But Wolves not happy about that. We do see the outpost going in favor of B. And some spears looking to contest that barracks if they can.
Yeah, I mean, CSO, heavy priority into archers already, 2 on the field by now. I'm not sure if he went double archer range. I don't think so, actually, no. Only 1 comes out at a time. Safe passage now on the way for him as well, so the pilgrims will begin traveling to give that juicy gold income for CSO that he just so desperately wants. Now, Spear Archer here for CSO so far, whether he does opt to add the Confrere later on is something we'll have to see. But this is a prudent choice, right? You know there's the threat of Sipahi. You know there's already a lot of spears, so archers to accompany your own spears is exactly what you need here as CSO. He did recapture his merchant camp as you highlighted earlier, and now he's looking to push B off of his own merchant camp entirely. And if B loses this position, the house and the barracks, although they're not too severe an investment, the house especially getting pop blocked at this point in time, forcing to add 50 wood house earlier than you would like, it really hurts your timings and your tempo here.
Yeah, I kind of like that he went for the house first to get some kind of value out of it right away, and then leaning back towards the barracks. At this point, CSO is really stabilized. That early push from Ottomans can be super scary, and he's dealt with it very adeptly. As we see the barracks almost torched up here. He's taken the merchant camp now for himself. Imams was the vizier point that B opted for, so he's going to heal up his units. I do like that choice very much. As you see, the barracks is going to go down. Pretty good little push from CSO. I would say this was a success because behind this, of course, he's got pilgrims heading towards sacred sites. So he's getting that passive resources.
Exactly, torching down his barracks and house is big win here for CSO.
Ooh, that Imam is really weak. Can he get one more shot off? Close. Ooh, the Imam just getting away. Don't want to lose the value of that if you're B. Archer is taking down the spears. Kind of a close back and forth fight. At this point, CSO, I think, is very happy with this engagement. The Meteor we do see is on the field to play as well.
Yeah, exactly. And getting control of this position for CSO is so pivotal after that slightly difficult early game, which is only to be expected in a matchup like this. There is no stable yet for CSO, but a very scary Archer mass out for him now. Now, the lack of spears might come to bite him in the behind, so to say, soon enough, once some more Sipahi make it onto the field. But for now, control of this position, free reign for the pilgrims to travel over towards that sacred site, providing 130 gold with every single trip. CSO looking in a pretty cozy position.
Yeah, he's definitely feeling good, I would say right now. He's got definitely has a good eco advantage right now. We see another engagement coming in. The Meta and the Imams is a pretty formidable force, but the numbers are just in favor of CSO as the archers just keep kind of trickling damage down. The Imam is trying to keep their guys alive, but at the same time, the passive resources that CSO is getting from this position is so good.
It's really good. It helps offset the villager advantage that he naturally finds himself under playing KT due to the pilgrim research, due to the age up, right? And the merchant camps are going to really pad any kind of disadvantage he might find himself under. And we just see still a full commitment of units here from CSO. Now, Iron Undermesh is on the way here for B. So with that and the Mechter combined with the Imams, there might be a timing here for him to reassert control over his own merchant camp and maybe even push across to CSOs. We do have a move out now onto the berries as well as the deer here for
now evening for militarily as I think up a little ways.
Stable now out for CSO as well, so Chevalier Confrere are going to be on the menu. Blacksmith on the way for him as well, but quite behind in his timings here. CSO, that might become painful in the near future, as Steel Arrow already on the way as well for B. Undermesh in already.
He was waiting for that undermesh to tick up, and now he's moving out, taking the second merchant camp. And now this is where the power kind of feels like it could swing back the other way. A good engagement here puts B up a lot. Now, CSO, though, has had the advantage of that bonus to his eco for a little bit. He does have the first of his special horse units I cannot pronounce.
Chevalier Confrere, yes, are starting to hit the field now.
Got those on the field now. I'd be just embarrassed to say it now, you know, because you're just going to do it way better than I can. But the Archer Mass still there. But yeah, you wonder how much that Archer Mass diminishes in value. And the villagers moving on the food. This is a precarious spot for CSO. A lot of damage can be done. Sipahi runs through to see what's going on, and he sees exactly what's going on. And that's going to encourage the rest of them to kind of move forward. And they're going to have a pretty good engagement here. But that even still with the damage upgrade, or sorry, the damage reduction with the Iron Undermesh, those archers are kind of a critical mass, it looks like. Quite a number of those, 32 of them. That's no small number. So B being very cautious here, happy to get the extra resources from the merchant camp, getting his wheelbarrow in, posturing around, knowing that if he can find an opening, he should take it. Instead, the Sipahi running to look for maybe a Pilgrim if they can find it.
Yeah, it's trying to find an angle here. The Pilgrim is now coming forward here for CSO. This might be a pivotal point in the game, as I think CSO is definitely intent on protecting that Pilgrim with his life if the case arises. Undermesh on the way now for him as well. Still that already in. Upgraded advantage here for B, but the mass definitely favors CSO. 35 archers now and building, and we know Knights Templar, there's few things they do better than archers. The wood economy combined with the food that you gain from it is so good to enable to mass to these kind of archer numbers.
I really like watching these Pilgrim being escorted by the military of CSO on the minimap. There's a Pilgrim that's just he's just slowly escorting that Pilgrim. He leaves her at the worst time though in the corner as this engagement happens. Sipahi leave the Pilgrim alive, but in the middle, Sipahi trying to get onto the archers. The Chevys are trying to do what they can. Archers in the meta are coming up for B, and kind of a big engagement. The Sipahi wrapping around, getting quite a couple of kills with the archers. And this fight looks kind of like a flank, almost like a pincer maneuver from B. Numbers thinning out on both sides. A lot of Chevy still on the field, a lot of Sipahi. Spears coming in for CSO, trying to fend off what he can and keep those archer masses alive. But it just feels like, man, the Sipahi are just still going.
Yeah, the Sipahi got a really good engage from the north side there. CSO was forced to frontline with his archers, diving for the Imams, diving for the Mehter. Now he gets all three of them, the Mehter and the two Imams, but at what cost, right? His army now, half of B's. And behind this, Ronin now on the field for B as well, three of them. He's gonna go for a game-ending maneuver here, most likely, as I don't really think CSO has the tools needed to hold this any longer.
Yeah, losing his knights, losing his cavalry was all he needed. And now the Sipahi still in big numbers. The archer numbers have pretty much evened up. It's 17 to 18. So now it comes down to who's got the better defenses, who's got the better cavalry. And I think Sipahi win this one. Close fight. Archers with the meta now getting buffed up again. Having to back up as the Chevys finally start doing their work and Sipahis go down pretty quickly. And that might turn the difference as now he has to back up. Obviously the tower there shooting some arrows at the archers as well. Some good defensive posturing. CSO managed to live for another day. The tower, really, yeah, that was a great spot to defend on. Tough to dive in. That meta came in kind of late. So just enough to hold. And they reset.
Yep.
Pilgrim goes down.
CSO survives this push so far, but the map control speaks for itself. Big win in that earlier fight there for B allows him complete and utter map control in this situation. Both the merchant camps under his control, the watchtower as well as the Ronin camp in his control as well. The worst part here for CSO is that his pilgrims are no longer actually have the safe passage that they have been promised earlier when he researched the technology. There is in fact an army of Ottomans camped right outside the base, eager for blood. CSO continues to build up units here for the defense, but B might be closer to thinking of a castlage behind this after these upgrades come in.
Yeah, he's got the resources coming in. He doesn't have it just yet. It would take a minute or two to get there. You wonder if he's going to just, I don't know. I wonder if he'll try and pivot, but he's got a good mass right here, and he's got his opponent boxed in. It feels like if you let off a little too much, maybe that wouldn't work. I don't know. We do see survival techniques and a couple other upgrades coming in for B, so he's continuing to invest. Almost has another visitor point ready to go. We do see wheelbarrow for CSO clicking in. And, you know, I got to point out, we've had every single point of interest used on this map. We've got the Ronin, we've had the merchant camps doing a big deal, the wolves. We even had the outpost taken, even though it's not perhaps doing a lot.
Yeah, the points of interest are very significant that we do have here. A snipe out on the boar by B. That boar is no longer on the same plane of existence. Archermass once again building here heavily for CSO, but B matching the numbers.
I wonder if our production could take a look at what that visitor point was. Curious to see what B went for.
The sheep.
Not clicked yet?
I didn't choose another one.
I take the Anatolian Hills.
That was the second one, I think, right? Not the third? I'm not sure if he didn't pick one.
He went with the Imams to start out. We know he went for the Imams. We know now he's got the sheep. Yeah, so it must have been the Anatolian Hills. He must have just taken, because he had the Imams early on.
Ah, yeah, it's only two he has so far. I wasn't sure if he had like his third point that he just got or his second, but he only just got his second, right? And yeah, he did opt for the extra sheep here, which is going to serve him very nicely as the food does get quite sparse later on after your initial base. You have a nice safe initial base on this map, but there's not too many resources to work with. So once you are out, it's a bit similar to Hill and Dale in that regard, where you are forced to venture out on the map and expose yourself if you want to get any further resources. But it is now the age up for B, as the Mechmed Imperial Army on the way with 12 villagers and a very nice sizable army to match.
I was wondering why he went for the sheep, because even though like resources are scarce, he's got complete map control, and I think that was it. He knew he wanted to click up in a moment and didn't want to have the idle time of sending them out. Now he can bring up the MIA in quick order. And you got to imagine, once that happens, CSO is going to try and reclaim some ground if he can. But meanwhile, in the back of the base, big raid coming in. Sipahi looking for some kills. It is spotted out immediately by CSO. They dive for the hills, running up to the safety of home. That tower in precarious spot. Archers are pretty much all that's there. The Chevy's coming in to defend. And that looks like it'll have to repel B. He's going to have to back up off of this.
And this distraction
looking raid, though, was looking for something. That could have been dangerous, but CSO has the wherewithal to keep his units close at hand.
Very typical move in this situation, right? You're aging up, so you're going to use your cavalry to distract your opponent and maybe hopefully force a reinvestment into units as well to have an even stronger castle timing. But now CSO gets the bad news, as B has reached the next age. Upgrades are in queue. Veterancy for the archers, veterancy for the Sipahi, +2 balanced projectiles as well for additional range damage.
Pick up with a meter.
A big snipe on the mech there, that's quite useful here for CSO. He's going to look to push across the map, but does he have the mass to actually challenge this?
Yeah, that's the question, right? Military counts are actually even, dead even right now for both players. The difference being that B is going up in castle behind us, so he wants no part in this fight, because he knows in about 3 or 4 minutes, well, maybe less than that, about 2 minutes, he's going to be in a much better spot with upgraded units. Meanwhile, CSO equally about ready to click up the castle. He's only about 20 foot away from clicking that button himself. And suddenly he's able to claw back a little more map control again. And it feels like he's gotten just enough time to get a breather. And so now I kind of wonder, where does he go from here? Where does CSO go from here to keep this game balanced? Because he somehow has navigated through a very difficult feudal age for himself. Going for Angevin Empire.
Yes, it is going to be the Angevin Empire, and I think that's something he desperately needs in this situation. It's not so much of a choice out of, it might not be the exact choice that he wants, but it's the choice that he has to make in this situation, as B's mass is pushing across the map now towards him. Chevalier Confrere are going to look to distract and maybe force back some of B's mass in this situation. Only 10 seconds out, the age up is for CSO, but his upgrades will take a while longer as well. And now B looking to deny any further map control from CSO. The Chevalier doing some good idle time, but they can't linger for too long for risk of dying to the upgraded Sipahi.
Yeah, Sipahi will definitely do a number here. Picking off a couple units here. They are pretty quick. I really wish we had a way of tracking how many pilgrims have made it to the sacred site versus how many have died. Ooh, the Barry's body blocking a little bit. Chevys get wrapped up into a fight they didn't want to take. A lot of them are weak. A lot of them go down. Nice little pickups there for B. Those berries, biting CSO there.
Yeah, those are big pickups for sure. I mean, the Chevalier Confrere are stronger than the Sipahi in a direct fight, but not an age behind, that's for sure. So much of CSO's economy is now idle. There's no more wood for him to gather safely. The veterancy for the archers is coming in, but it's still some ways out. And that wood line there is the only wood CSO has access to at this point in time, and B is looking to deny it completely.
Yeah, that posturing with those Lancers now in the field are very dangerous. Sipahi are one thing, and the Chevy's still getting into engagements they don't want to take, as they get body blocked again. Some excellent micro from B. The Meta helping them out as well. Lancers coming in. More of them go down. A lot of them were weak. Meanwhile, he's just posturing on that base and trying to clamp down, because you're right. Once that wood is gone, there's nothing else for CSO. He's going to have to go far, far away for more. And I suppose he could take up those straggler trees that are out there. He is KT. He can eat up the trees easily enough, but that won't sustain him for a very long time.
It definitely will not, and it might be running out of choices here soon. He does have this little double outpost set up on the Deer with villages in the north. He's quite lucky that didn't get
Big
spotted
fight
out
coming
just
in
yet.
the middle. Lancers on Lancers. Archer's dealing out. The Meta behind in a very good spot. Needs to get sniped out. It looks like CSO wants to get a piece of it, but can't. Archer's just kind of walk around aimlessly. Getting picked off now. No front line at all. This could be catastrophic, as CSO has nowhere to run. Archer's picking him off, and this is going to be a clean sweep, and that's game.
Game number 2 goes over to B on the Ottomans here on Enlightened Horizon, and what a finish there, right? Starting really strong in the Dark Age, they're using the Ottomans' prowess to secure himself the double merchant camp. almost takes the gold away from CSO, but not quite, and then takes his own in the Wolf Den. And after that, just finding such a good timing there and wraparound with the Sipahi. That's the thing. Sipahi, although they are not knights, they are still just such an oppressive unit, Sokoton.
They're so good at what they do. They're a very fun unit to play with. They really are. You know, it just felt like this game came down to map control in the end, because they had kind of even units. It was, I mean, all the upgrades had come in for B, obviously. It just feels like CSO needed some way to claim his side of the map. And on a map like this, it's really hard to do because there's no easy way to wall in. Once your resources are expunged in your little, like, you know, eighth of the map, you got to move out. So he just had nowhere to go, you know? And I think that kind of really spelled his doom, because B just really, really good at microing. And really the Chevy's going down so hard from the Sipahi, the body blocks and the berries, and then the Lancers catching up to him, getting pinched by the whole military. And once that front line was gone, CSO, archers alone can just not do it, especially against Sipahi and Lancers.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chevalier Confrere numbers was just not there as needed for CSO in this fight, right? They were double the amount of Sipahi that they were Confrere. And, you know, at the end of the day, a unit like the Sipahi, which, I mean, quite frankly, tends to break the rules of the counter system sometimes, it makes it so difficult for CSO in the situation when he falls himself behind on the map like this as well. You know, being pinned in your base is a horrible position to find yourself in.
Yes, indeed. B evens up the count, 1-1 on the series we go. A well-fought game, though, both ways. I mean, I really kind of thought the opening was very interesting to see. B diving over to the other merchant camp, but CSO getting that wolf den, making sure he can get his. It definitely felt like, heck, it just came down to how aggressive B was and how CSO just didn't have a lot else he could do. Those pilgrims, like I really wish I could see a counter of some sort of how many pilgrims actually made it to their destination and how many died along the way. Because it felt like not many made it. And you wonder how much of a difference that could have helped for the eco of CSO. Because he didn't have a lot of gold access either after a while. Once his gold veins were eaten up, he had nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 2 small gold veins on this map, right? How much is it actually? 1600, 1800, I believe, in one of the small gold veins. And once those run out, you know, the next ones are very, very far from your base. So besides the pilgrims, you can't really find another source of gold in any other way. But game number 3 is getting set up, and we do have...
This will be fun.
Quite the matchup.
A pseudo mirror match, right? I'd call this a pseudo mirror match. We got Jeanne d'Arc versus the French. And if that's confusing, yes, it would be historically confusing. This should be a fun one. These are 2 really fun civs on this map. Really aggressive with lots and lots of food on Frisian marshes. I really enjoy watching games on this map in particular. I'm not as good at playing on this map, but I do enjoy it. I feel like most games on this map just play out fun because the TCs are always kind of on the same side. You got all that food to go get and raid. Usually these games end up being very aggressive and very fun, especially in the feudal age. Which do you prefer, French or Joan of Arc? Which of those 2 civs in a mirror match like this? What do you feel like has the edge, just civ wise?
I think it's pretty dead even. Maybe a tiny edge over to JD potentially. They're very, very close. They both have notable strengths over the other one, right? JD, of course, having access to JD, especially in ranged form, is really, really dangerous up against the French knights. Sniping them off when they're low HP can get you an immense amount of value as JD in this situation. On top of it, you have the consecration as well, so you can get much cheaper knights than the French in the feudal age. The French is no slouch either, right? Typically they have a faster age up timing, so they will normally be at least 1 knight ahead. On top of it, the faster villager production, as well as the cheaper gathering buildings as well. The lumber camp, the mining camp, as well as mills. JD only has the discounted techs, not the gathering buildings, so that's a bit of extra economic prowess that goes over in favor of French. But all in all, those bonuses brought down to their base level, I think it's very, very even here, Sokoton. But on a map like this, what I'm really curious about is whether either one of these players will take off their jackets and show us their chambers of commerce.
That would be interesting. And this is a map that it could work on, right? Because you get those, usually I believe the markets are pretty far in the corner. They're the side of Frisian marshes. It'd be so risky though, right? Against another civ that has knights, wouldn't that just be such a risky play? I mean, would you do that if you were playing?
If there's any map in the game where that could probably be possible, this would be one of them. I can think of only one other map in the game where that's something you might get away with, and that would be Hill and Dale if you get lucky with the trade post. But the way that map spawns, you can't rely on anything, frankly.
I just feel like against another, I feel like, especially because it's like a pseudo mirror match, right? You know the opponent's gonna have feudal knights, especially. I wouldn't want to risk it, right? I don't know that it would work. I feel like when I've seen it done, like obviously if it can go uncontested, you just win. But there's no way that like if you're CSO and you're thinking, oh, I could really play out of the box here. There's no way B doesn't just swarm and flood the earth with knights and just kill every single last person who thought they could go start a caravan trade.
Yeah, it's definitely a very dangerous play in this kind of a situation. Like the only bonus really you would get besides obviously the economy from the traders is the fact that you'd be forcing your opponent to be on your side of the map. So technically, the numbers advantage shouldn't be too severely against you, but still, the distance is so short here, right, Sokoton? The route of the traders is very obvious. It's the food is there as well. So if you get caught on the trade, you usually get caught on the food once the sheep run out as well. So I'd be very surprised to see a Chamber of Commerce here today, but I do want to.
Hear me out. It could work because both players could go for Chamber of Commerce, and then we've got a game. You know, they could both try to be so out of the box that they just mirror each other almost entirely. That'd be fun. That'd be worth the price of admission. You know, that would, because then no matter what, someone's gonna win, and then we'd have inconclusive results as to does it work, does it not work.
I'd pay pretty good
I feel
money
like if one goes for it, I think they're dead. If they both go for it, it'll be fun to see. I don't know that I would, and I'm not nearly a good enough player to have a valid opinion on that, but I just feel like it's a really, really risky gamble. And against French is just so good at punishing risky gambles.
It's true. It's very true. I mean, if any of the civs go for it, I would assume it's JD, specifically because, you know, at least you have JD on the defensive and you can get XP that way, but then French has better bonuses for Cock, right? As we talked about the cheaper gathering buildings, it's much easier to get your techs as French because of that reason, and your economy is just a little bit smoother early in the game. Yeah, I would love to see it. I pay a good amount of money to see it, but I think there's money and ATR on the line that neither of these players are willing to give up easily, right?
Yep. This is not your normal ranked ladder game. This is, of course, the Elite Classic 3. Hosted by EGC TV, and we are in the quarterfinals. It's a best of 7 against B and CSO. We dive into game number 3. We're all tied up at 1. In the orange, once again, CSO as the French, and B, also kind of the French, in the green as Jeanne d'Arc. Right away, we see normal things happening. We've got JD building the house, building the mill, getting some sheep. Of course, this map, known for its numerous amounts of food resources across the map. An early mill being built for CSO. I'm guessing we'll get an early wheelbarrow coming out, and sure enough, both players have gotten their mills out and are getting their wheelbarrow going. That's very standard here on this map and for these civs.
Yeah, that's right. An early wheelbarrow pays a lot of dividends for both French and JD, but French especially. You know, it's quite an expensive technology even for them, so you can actually fit it into the Dark Age fairly cozily in terms of economy without hurting your, without stunting your economy after pro scouts if they do decide to opt for that or anything of that sort. So, it only delays your age out by about 10, 15 seconds or so. And, it's an extra tech that you have under your belt already ahead of pro scouts. And then you can just focus on getting your other cheaper ones, acid distillation, double broadaxe, as well as horticulture when you do opt for it. At JD, it's a little bit harder to go for the mill opening due to your necessity to gather a fair bit of extra wood. Now, B does get his earlier in turn. However, his age up might suffer a little bit as a result. Naturally, he still has to use JD to age up and get a decent bit of experience on her as a result. And these sort of factors influence JD's age up to be somewhat slower than French's typically.
I've remembered why I like this map so much, and it's because there is just so much food in the form of sheep as well on this map. We see B with a healthy 14 sheep. That just feels good. 15 there as he gets an extra. Meanwhile, CSO, I'm assuming he's dropped off a bunch already. Looks like it. 8 right there and a couple killed.
It's true.
I don't see our official sheep counter, but it looks like B is definitely getting the lion's share there.
Oof, yeah.
It's a nice little pickup there. I mean, the more you get, obviously, the less you have to move out on the map earlier, which is why I'm always a big fan of getting some extra sheep when you can.
There's a lack of double scouts here by either player, right? Normally that's something, especially these civs, can tend to opt for on this kind of a map, notably Prairie as well, another map with a lot of sheep. Double scout play has seen some popularity in these kind of situations if you can get a significant sheep advantage. But, you know, starting with wheelbarrow as well, and in a pseudo mirror, just like you correctly said earlier, like this, being a villager down, hurting your age up timing tempo even more. It's a slippery slope for it to get out of control, right?
Yeah, and that is one thing to keep considering, is that CSO is going to claw up a gradual villager increase just by the nature of how fast he can produce villagers. We see it's 15 to 17 now, 16. You can see like B just a little behind there by nature of the fact that CSO's villagers pop out every 17 seconds. We do see School of Cavalry coming out on both sides. I am very sorry, Myriad, that you will not get to see the Chamber of Commerce this game. But both players are, like you mentioned, wanting to make sure they, there's money on the line, there's ATR on the line. They want to make sure they play the most optimally here, which is funny for these two players to say that that play the meta, essentially.
Quite notably here for B, right, is the fact that he did opt to age up with 4 villagers as opposed to the standard 2 or 3 as we normally saw. I wonder if part of it was in anticipation of CSO's potentially earlier age up, thinking he might have skipped wheelbarrow and just went directly to age up, but instead he pulls one off but then goes back in again. So JD's level up will be somewhat further away as a result of this, but B will be able to match the knight numbers exactly.
Yeah, this is, we kind of know the game we're getting into now. First knight in the queue for CSO, waiting for B to hit his as well. There it is. That was a little delayed. He had the stuff for it there. And now it comes down to who loses the most knights the fastest, who can keep their knights better occupied. And in game 1, CSO showed us how good he could be with the raids, with those Keshiks, and with all the things that Mongols can do. He looked really, really good being aggressive. Last game, it felt like B kind of came back and just used the map control against him. So here, when knights are on both sides and things are very even, can CSO duplicate what he did in game 1? Or is it going to be a little more even this time as knight number 1 for B is on the field? Both players have 1 and 1 in the queue. That knight looking to get some damage on the scout. We met by another knight, and here we go. It's all about these first engagements to me in a mirror match, pseudo mirror match like this one. It's all about the knights. All about who can get that first one down.
It's a very interesting matchup, somewhat, because, I mean, already we have our first differences starting to arise, right? B opted to go for acid distillation as his first upgrade, where CSO went for horticulture, followed by acid distillation instead. JD is getting very close now to leveling up as well, and that will definitely turn the tides in B's favor in these early skirmishes. What's quite curious about this matchup is, because both civs are so aggressive, and obviously normally the other counterpart always has an extra knight on their side of the map, it makes it very dangerous to raid as opposed to in any other matchups, right? If you sacrifice a villager for a knight, that's definitely not worth it here, even more so than in other matchups. It sets you so behind. We can see here, B with a knight lead now on his side. Gets their charge in. So far, damage lead is in favor of B here. John Dark following behind as well.
Yeah, this is, like I said, the first engagement matters. CSO having to back up because 3 knights with JD behind versus 2 knights and a scout is not going to win it. And CSO needs to group up, find that 3rd knight, taking some damage as he does. Tough engagement here. Tries to dive, gets a little charge off. And B with his micro and his planning here, really good. Here comes another knight, number 4. And now you wonder, is this enough to make it even? Will he back up and try and pull here? He does. And that's going to be a backup from B. And the cat and mouse game begins. We are underway here in game number 3.
Now, already you saw just there just how dangerous it is to move across the map prematurely in this matchup, as either side really the damage definitely favors B right now, as one of CsOH's knights is very, very low, just under half HP. Some of them, other ones damaged as well. B taking a few hits in turn himself. But CsO,
how important is chivalry to you here, getting that upgrade to heal the knights, and when do you go for it?
it's tough. You have to kind of fit it in once you have like a good bunch of knights that are damaged. Like you can't really get it for just a few knights because it's so expensive, and obviously it will set you behind in knight count. You'll become a little bit gold starved as well as it turns. So hitting chivalry in is definitely something that you want to do if you can, but picking the timing for it can be tricky.
This is interesting. CsO is opting to go for, it looks like, some spears. He's getting the upgrade right now.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mirad, but I feel like he who goes spears in a French mirror match usually is the one who's on the back foot. What do you make of the choice to go spears? I guess against Archer Joan of Arc as well. It doesn't feel great. What do you think?
Yeah, spears in this matchup is interesting. Typically, there's some truth to the fact that normally the one who is behind does tend to go for the spears. However, spears do allow you a lot of room to breathe as well in this matchup, especially on the defensive. We see CsO already taking advantage of the fact that he is going to go for spears and moves directly onto the fish now, excuse me. Whereas B doesn't opt to do so yet, specifically because he's only sticking to knights and is not sure of the level of investment CsO is making into knights as opposed to anything else yet. The spears, I mean, the thing with the spears is that if they suddenly come out of a fight like in large numbers and you don't know that they've been being produced, that can be a very overwhelming advantage for the spear player. Like if suddenly they meet in a fight and there's 10 spears coming out of nowhere and B is forced back to his base, that can be a really dangerous spot, because adding archers, playing knight archer against knight spear, just does not feel very good at all, especially if there's already a large enough spear count. So the waters can definitely get muddied, and B is going to opt to play it safe instead and opts for his own barracks now.
Interesting plays by both. We do see chivalry coming in for CsO. He's posturing around. He's got knights on both sides of the base. These knights on the north side are spotted out by B. He's going to try and go after them. I wonder if he thinks this is the main force. Meanwhile, the backside coming in for the raid on the gold. Will he get there? He does! Lands some lines. A couple villagers go down. Excellently played by CsO to distract.
Meanwhile, B's own raid.
Single knight goes down. Excellent play by CsO. Distracted with just enough knights. He might lose a knight on that other side, though. We see those green knights chasing down the orange. He might go down. It's close. No, keeps him alive. Excellently played. A raid here on the berries now from B. Trying to return the favor, but doesn't get as much value out of it. Gets one Vil to CsO's 3. So a good engagement here early on from CsO. Well played. They flank. They're doing the perfect maneuver, right? You distract on the one side, and you charge the gold on the other, and there weren't enough spears to keep him alive.
Definitely fantastic maneuver there by CsO, and on top of it, just like you mentioned, the Vil count now firmly in his favor too, especially from those villager kills. B wrapping around again, looking for another raid to get some counter damage, but the knights are there to meet and they charge directly into B's knights. One is going to go down, the other three are very low health as well. They have to get out of here quick time before this charge of the spears connects onto them. Now, CsO firmly ahead now. The destroyed value as well as the villagers. Knight count is relatively even, but he has a spear advantage as well behind this. Another charge comes in.
The gold. That's an even fight. He's not going to be able to stick around for that one. Yeah, he's going to have to back up and be careful because, like you mentioned before we started this game, Jeanne d'Arc, she can snipe those things out as an archer with a good shot. He's going to have to back all the way off of this. Yeah, not safe. But again, a little bit of damage done. Things are still very even, but that eco creeping ever so slightly in favor of CsO, up by 6 villagers. Nice little back pull here. Oh, I love the way he split. This is what he was doing against in game 1 as well. He would just get a little fraction of B's army and then take the good engagement when he has the numbers. We see he obviously was able to distract by splitting his units in the right way. Another small pickup there for CsO. He's idling a couple, though, as the raids continue in the back line from him as well, as B is trying to push it back to him.
Yeah, these little micro tricks from CsO are paying so many dividends for him now. He picked up, I think he has a 3 or 4 knight advantage as a result of how many he killed. He killed 3 or 4 and now finds himself ahead by 2 knights despite being down a stable compared to B's JD. Nice wrap around here from B. Connects onto the CsO escaping knights. Most of them do get the charge off, however, CSO notices fast enough. There's a bit of danger here as his knights are stuck on B's side of the map. He has to be very, very careful to not run into any other units on the front side. Meanwhile, more knights from CSO looking for a wraparound onto the fish, excuse me, but B's defensive force is there to meet them.
Yeah, CSO is playing a really good game here so far. I mean, not that B is playing bad either. I mean, both players are playing very, very well, but I got to give it to CSO here in a second. Like, knowing the matchup and knowing that B is such an exceptionally good player, to see CSO hold his own here has been really impressive. We see the chivalry has been giving them some extra health. That's ticked up as well for B in just a second. He'll be able to get that bonus. That's really been helping CSO here to kind of recoup a little bit of that damage of the knights. You know, if you can heal a knight back up from almost dead all the way back up, it's like you get a brand new knight for free. So you're getting way more resources, way more value out of those units. And we see there's enough knights to make that worthwhile for both players now to have that. So yeah, I see like those low health ones. Imagine that's dead. And now imagine the cost of a knight. You just get it back for free, and if you can keep them alive long enough to heal back up. And so super duper worth the effort to keep those guys alive before taking another engagement. Big fight here. That's a lot of knights for 3DB. He's pushing in. B with spears behind, trying to catch up. A knight might fall down. Looks like he might just get away instead, actually, as the cat and mouse continues. And this is kind of the name of the game, right? Back and forth, trying to find a right opening to take a good engagement.
It does appear like CSO has managed to get pretty much all of his technologies behind this, and you can see the economic prowess that French has over JD in this kind of a situation, thanks to those cheaper techs, thanks to those extra villager production speed. All of his economic techs are in, as well as the blacksmith upgrades, both bloomery and the melee armor in as well for him, which is a notable advantage when dealing with this kind of a knight mass. Whereas for JD, B on the other side, fitting in the blacksmith upgrades is a lot more difficult, thanks to the economy. It does appear like CSO might have had some idle time on the TC behind this, because he has been sitting at only 5 villager lead for several minutes now, despite his advantageous raids, as well as his faster villager production speed. So there was definitely a little bit of idle time there that we have not noticed. However, he's still firmly in the lead here, right? Slight spear disadvantage, but 3 knights ahead, and technologies as well. A pitched fight here might really favor him. However, it's something that he likely wants to avoid because of JD.
Yeah, he's gonna back away. It's a tough fight. The spears really kind of hold things together here, right? Like it's back up, try to take the engagement, don't run into the spears, back up, try and get him to run into your spears instead. Spear numbers definitely in favor of B. Knight count, it's hard to tell who's got the advantage right there. It's really close, 27 to 30. It's a charge. Spears trying to find their targets. I think CSO might have overextended here. Both sides diving in. They're flanking all the way out. Turns into a large battle. I can't tell who's winning.
Yeah, this fight's
in the back just
close.
trying to go for the heal maybe, and there it is. There goes the heal. That'll help a lot. I think CSO might be down for the count on this. Looks like he's starting to get taken down bit by bit. JD levels up, and there come the men-at-arms, the champions coming in to help. And it looks like, oh, it's so hard to tell because on the north side CSO won, and on the south side won. So I think they just kind of have a wash, and both at the back up. Looks like the number is 12 to 9. So I think CSO has more knights in the field now. Oh, obviously he does, if I can see the number. JD about to get sniped as well. She's running around. Somehow she got pinched away. Spear gets her.
The spear.
The military count is in lead of B. CSO has more knights in the field by +4.
He does have more knights in the field, but we have to keep in mind getting JD level 3 from that fight was so significant there for B. I'm not exactly sure why CSO opted to go for that fight so forcefully so early. You might have thought that he's more ahead than he was before, because sure, they trade armies pretty evenly and CSO still has the knight lead, but an immense amount of experience fed over to JD there. She's now level 3, and with level 3 she's gonna start really turning these fights around for B. We have to keep in mind that the longer this goes in this kind of a extended feudal situation, the better it actually gets for JD because of the discount on those stables. He should be able to mass so many more knights than CSO as the feudal age goes on and on. CSO does have the lead for now, but you can see that it is shrinking, and with all the leads that he has gotten, it should be bigger than it is before, but it can't be. Oh, nice sneak around here in the back, finds the villagers, doesn't quite kill one, but a good bit of idle time.
He could have gotten that one killed if he wanted to. Spears pushing back CSO's knights. One thing to help, that does help CSO's position, maybe not long term, because that obviously she's level 3, but he did immediately kill Joan of Arc right after. I mean, that was after she summoned her champions. But he did at least kill her, so denying B of using her for a little bit and he's opted not to buy her back again. Knight still looking for some good raids if he can get it. There is, again, a slight villager lead for CSO. He does also still have his Bloomery upgrade for free. He's got his ranged defenses for free, or not for free, but he's paid for his ranged defenses and range upgrades. Knights on the goal. This is a good pickup here if he can get them. Getting kind of body blocked by the mining camp. Spears trying to wrap from all sides to get them.
Very aggressive dive in here from CSO, right? I'm not sure if he's fully aware of where B's forces are at this point in time. Now, B does have a significant spear lead here, especially in his base, so he's going to look to try to see if he can trap these knights, which would be huge for him, but it might be more difficult than he anticipates. Now, he could look for a quick wall potentially on the north side to block these knights in, but I'm sure his attention is split as he is himself raiding on two sides of CSO's base as well at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of action both ways. It's hard to watch it all. Oh, here's a nice little pincer right there to get a couple knights. Some good body blocks. And oh no, CSO taking a fight he really shouldn't. He needs to get out of dodge. Somehow loses only the one knight from the arrow shot. I'm surprised he didn't lose more. Spears picking up some of those raids on the other side. Villagers caught out though.
Ooh.
I don't think only one going down. Meanwhile, knights being killed by spears on the far side. And there's just action all across the map. It gets so hard to keep microing all this all at once, right? Because you got to be in two places. Novar kind of out. Oh, CSO should back up and get her if he can. I don't think he sees her. His attention's elsewhere. She runs right past. Raids happening.
Yes, it's difficult enough to pay attention to everything, but even harder to play it as these two are right now, right? Action all around the map as knights are running rampant, unchecked, killing villagers, getting intercepted, and then getting out again. Big charge here from CSO, connecting onto these knights who's not paying attention. Quite a few of them are very, very damaged. One goes down instantly, another one soon to follow, but the spears are quick in tow to chase, and CSO gets pushed back once again.
Yeah, he can't take a fight. He can't take a head-on fight, despite the fact he's got way more knights now. It's 27 knights to 13 to 14 now. He's got a huge knight advantage. The problem is there's also 24 spears, so he needs to get enough room, kill a couple knights, and get out of there. He's going to try and get onto these spears now. I don't know if he can hang around. There's quite a number of knights. Maybe not enough spears to take care of this.
Definitely not enough
champions
spears.
Coming in. Pretty costly amount of damage, but he does be able to manage to take the spears down. And CSO does have a military lead here along with the eco lead. But Joan of Arc in the back with some champions inside the base of CSO raiding at the same time, finding the berries and the deer with tons of villages about.
Yeah, very significant knight advantage now for CSO in this game, right? As long as he can keep his economy secured somewhat behind this, then he will be able to secure this, to maintain this knight lead and leverage it into a win with his superior mobility. But he's looking to make a push here. He does have a lot of spears as well as JD, but his knights are very, very low. Most of CSO's knights are here to meet on the defense, as a lot of CSO's food gathering is here as well. JD might prove pivotal in this fight, but I think the mass is just so severely in CSO's favor. 26 knights to 8, Sokoton.
Yeah, it looks like most of the mass of B is not here for this fight, and a lot of CSOs those champions are doing some damage to the back, but behind this, CSO is going Castle Age. He has dropped the Royal Institute, and he has the knight advantage. As long as he doesn't lose him here, he can keep up a good mass, and with Royal Bloodlines, he would look really scary with a really good timing. As the fight continues there, villagers getting that Royal Institute up as fast as they possibly can. We see 11 on there. That's pretty standard. Meanwhile, spears and champions getting picked off little by these knights. It's still 22 knights to now 7. Feels like CSO has got a really good lead here.
He definitely does. I mean, there's been really good damage found by B behind this. As you can see, he's actually ahead in villages at this point in time. So great raids from B behind this, which is somewhat the reason as to why he appeared to have such a smaller army than CSO, with most of it distracted raiding as well. But yeah, with the Royal Institute on the way, now the knight count for CSO has shrunk massively behind this, notably.
Yeah, he just lost a lot. He dove into those spears and lost a lot. They were really low health. Again, he needed to kind of regroup, and he'd taken so many fights, they've been trickled down. And now he needs to be really careful, because now that he's got the the Royal Institute up, we see some spear on spear action here. But now that the Royal Institute's up, he needs all those knights to get Royal Bloodlines. He needs that tech ASAP. He's only got about half the gold. That gold's counting up pretty quickly. Some good fights here as JD managed to clean up some of those spears and push them back. She's about halfway to level 4. And when that happens, that's going to be a really good timing for B whenever it does happen. That'll help him a lot. But in the meantime, CSO is actually down villagers now.
Yep. The raiding behind this for B has been stellar, right? We haven't quite been able to catch quite a lot, but JD gets
JD's been caught out.
That's
She gets trapped and down.
Dies.
JD getting sniped away in a blink of an eye. And the Knights now chasing everything else they have. And those villagers are really exposed. If only CSO could see them. I don't know if he has vision on that, though. Looks like they're on the fish and they're safe for the time being.
And veterancy is in now for CSO, right? So these spares, although there's a very, very good count on the field for B, with veterancy on these Knights and now Royal Bloodlines in queue for him as well, I'm not sure any real amount of spares that B is able to muster will be enough to contend against these superior Knights. Whereas B, he's still massing units because he knows he can't go for his own nature behind this, otherwise he will just die.
He keeps trying. B has sacrificed his military in one spot for these raids. He has thrown a lot of Knights at the vills. He does have a little to show for it as he's up one villager. So he's got something to show for it. But it just feels like at the moment CSO with these Knights about to just really flood the earth. He's almost got back up to 20. He could take this fight right here and be just fine right now. And he does. He turns and takes it, and I think he's got it all day. Royal Bloodline still a minute or so away, so he doesn't want to, throw these into the spears just yet. Meanwhile, taking care of business at home, more Knights going down in the back line for B. He's trying to keep the raids up, but CSO just planted a couple spears back there and just letting it happen. JD is back on the field with their spears and her Knights, trying to trap this little force right here. CSO needs to just keep on running and just wait for the Royal Bloodlines to tick up before taking anything definitive.
Yeah, be investing a lot of gold there to buy JD back prematurely. That's 500 gold that he spent on getting JD, so huge investment at this point in time for him. Really goes to speak as to how much value he places on her. Now, he, goodly so far, all the consecration on his production buildings has done an immense amount of work at keeping him in this game thus far. The discount, the ability to save so many resources on these Knights, on these spears, on villages as well, if he has his TC consecration. It's kept him in this game so far, right?
It has, yeah. It really has. Royal Bloodlines has come in now for the Knights, so I feel like CSO is probably going to feel a little more brave. He's also got Arbitrie coming on. However, his gold getting raided by a lone Knight. Trying to be a hero for B. But with Royal Bloodlines, CSO could go take a headlong fight if he wants. And B is not really anywhere near Castle Age at the moment. He's got a lot of food and a lot of gold coming in, so if he can stop for a minute, he could go up. But I don't know if he can stop production long enough to let that happen.
And notably now for B, there is a massive spear count on his side. 41 spears against CSO's 21 Knights. Now, they often say that you need 2 spears for every Knight in order to match the numbers and strength. However, B is in fact an age down here, so although 42 spears against 21 Knights doesn't look too bad, the technological disadvantage here for B is substantial. Now he's going to try to look for a wraparound here. Quite a big portion of B's military is behind CSO's, picking off reinforcements, trying to cut off something behind this to give him an angle to maybe envelop and overwhelm this massive force here from CSO. However, I'm not sure he can. All of the resources are now being invested into units for B still. He's so far from an age up, but the clash is coming in.
Big fight in the middle as on a flanking maneuver. He comes around back both ways. Archers in the middle trying to pick off the spears. I wonder how well that'll work out. Knights going down pretty quickly, but man, they are so tanky. Even with the heal, a lot of Knights that are green are going down, but more reinforcements coming in, and this looks like a pretty tough fight, but the front line is slowly but surely going away. The Archers picking off spear after spear. Joan of Arc is almost dead herself, getting a lot of experience here. She's close to level 4, but not quite. And man, CSO does back away after a while. Archers get cleaned up. Military number now is very in favor of B. Felt like maybe there was just one too many spears with Joan of Arc behind that. Tough fight.
That was such a bad fight there for CSO. I think he misestimated the sheer level of spear commitment that B has made. I think he might have been thinking that B's preparing for an age up behind this and that's why he's backing up. But it was just a master bait there by B. Just beautifully calling in CSO's army, feigning weakness and then wrapping around from the back. Most of CSO's Knights go down and now B heavily in favor in terms of military whilst aging up behind this. And look at the XP Sockerton. JD is going to level up any second.
I mean, one spear probably gives it to her at this point. She's so close. Maybe not quite. Close. Maybe 4 or 5 spears would do it. She is. And once that happens, I mean, then the siege comes into play. And then I feel like that could win for B. The numbers are just in such favor with those spears. And, even with Royal Bloodlines, Knights are tough, but when you have 3 spears or 4 spears to your every 1 knight, you're just gonna take too much damage, and you can't. Your DPS just isn't enough to counter that anymore.
No,
You do see the upgrades coming in for B.
CSO, if only he had a larger archer count in that fight, and I wasn't so directly committed to try to kill B, pick the fight on a slightly better angle, then he could have definitely had it there. But that's the thing, in these games, tensions run high. It's difficult to always predict what your opponent will do. Even if you scout, it can be very difficult to discern one move from the other if the macro looks similar. And the result of which we can see CSO on the back foot now, but still in this game. We do have a switch into Arbaletria now coming through.
Yeah, he needs a big mass of those. They do pretty well into spears. I mean, most crossbows don't do as well. We got a nice raid on the fish here. And this is where B could really dial it up to 10. If he could just start poking and prodding the eco on every side for CSO, it's going to be very difficult. But as I was saying, like, normally Expos don't trade super cost efficiently into spears. Arbaletria feel a lot better. Obviously, they've got the Gambesons. They've got a number of other things that really go their way. But you need a lot of them. You're going against 50 some odd spears. It's going to be tough. He needs a lot more units on the field. It's 67 to 42, so CSO is trying to get a mass built here. He just needs to pump units as much as he can. He's got 1,000 stone. I'd like to see him drop a keep somewhere. If that's the case, get some bonus for his production.
Yeah, he's definitely thinking of a keep here, and it's what he needs, right? Like, we can see this consecration for JD has been paying so much fruit for him throughout this game. He needs his own keep as well as the discount upgrade from the Royal Institute enlistment incentives, I believe it's called, to discount it even further, to try to pull back his economy in this game. Nice pick on the reinforcements here by CSO, finds quite a few knights and spears. This will definitely is a start to getting him back into this game. But still finding himself behind in villages as well as the French, not the kind of spot you want to be in.
Definitely not. He is doing a great job of hitting those reinforcements. That's going to force B to come back home a little bit, which could buy him some time, and that's what he needs most of. CSO just needs time, right? To let that villager lead increase, to get things set up. That keeps going up as we speak. We can see it happening. Meanwhile, Spear's trying to push out the army from JD, but there she goes. She's aged up now at level 4. On the field, and this feels like it could be B's timing. And look at those beautiful plumed men on the field, ready to do what they need to do to protect their leader. On they go, and that's just going to clean up the spears really well.
And notably here for B, he did opt for the additional companions as opposed to the gunpowder, so there will be no cannon for him to take down this keep. Now, in turn, he will have a super boosted unit in the form of that John's champion, and obviously additional champions in order to help him in this fight as well. Possible count
enough units, just torch it down. You almost could just torch it down with how many units you have, you know?
You could do, potentially, yeah.
I mean, not super efficient, but you almost, when you have that many knights and that many spears, you almost could just throw the torch damage on that. We do see the farm position for CSO coming in the back line now. Obviously, most of the food is being expunged, and we are late enough in the game. It's been a half hour of this. You gotta imagine how much wear and tear that does to your one's mental psyche of just constant raiding. Royal Bloodline's finally ticking up for B, so it's going to be a couple minutes before that happens. And once that does happen, it's 20 knights to 16 knights. CSO, for the first time this game, is behind in knight number.
It's true. Behind an army number as well, behind this. It's just such an overwhelming amount of spears here for B. Not too much by... I mean, he does have the 21 knights and the companions as well, actually. Pardon me, never mind. Nice engagement here from the spears onto the knights. There's a lot of knights here, so a lot of the spears will go down, but they will trade very cost efficiently. 3 knights go down as well here for CSO. The knight count dwindling even further for him.
I think we're starting to see the experience of B starting to show through in this game a little bit. CSO has looked very scary, I will say. Like, this is not the same player of years past. He is definitely much improved. I think we're starting to see B really settle in here for the long haul. And you can kind of just feel the experience kind of emanating there, where he's been in this situation so many times. He knows what he's doing. Feels really comfortable at this point. We see engagement could happen there in the corner of our map there. We can see right here. Yep. That'd be a tough fight for CSO. All the spears there. Still some food on the flanks there for B. He's on this big 8k gold as well. The relics haven't been quite picked up yet. We do have a monk in the queue.
Yeah, finally the first monks are starting to
I'm a
hit the
little
field,
surprised
right?
that CSO didn't go for that a little earlier, right? I mean, yeah, he used
It's
Castle
tough,
H for a
right?
while. It's tough though. Yeah, it's a tough investment, but that maybe could have helped a bit. But it was very
Yeah.
hectic down that time. We see a big, massive units coming up. CSO just feels like he's just trying to get a good enough mass. It's 101 to 74 military units. At this point, B is just about at his population maximum at 192, almost up to 200. And once that happens, that's when you start making trades.
Yeah. B definitely has the map control now to either add a second TC, start trading. The world is his oyster, really. And CSO, I mean, it's difficult for him. He finds himself in such a typical position that often players find themselves in when on the back foot like this. Sadly, you have no other choice but to just turtle up in your base and just try to build up your economy as much as you can safely, build a very static, very steadfast composition, archers, arbaletier, as well as spears here for CSO.
I
He
think
has
this
no
game's
option.
over.
Exactly,
I think
because
it's over.
he's so
Look at the
behind.
gold. Look at the gold count of CSO.
Yeah,
He's
it's
got
plummeted.
nobody on gold. I haven't seen a single bit of gold trick, and he's been at 16 for a while. All he can do is go archer spear. I think he's just dead if that happens. He's got a large number of spears on the knights, trading out pretty okay here. This fight goes B's way, which I think it probably will. A lot of arbs behind this, though, doing a lot of damage. Spears going to back up, though. They just not enough to hold off on this.
Yeah, it's just such an overwhelming mass here from B, right? And yeah, with no gold coming in behind this for CSO, he is forced to make crash units here in order to defend. Now, the archers will do well against the spears, and the spears will do well against the knights. However, the mass is just so severe here for B. Good kiting here by CSO to keep his ranged mass alive. However, B still has free reign over this game behind this. CSO's knights are raiding as well at the same time, keeping B busy. He finally managed to even up the vill count a little bit more, but still, finding the farmlands now B has as villagers start going down more and more. Pushing in once again, we do have JD already at level 4 at this point in time, so no matter how many more kills she gets, she cannot get any stronger than she currently is, which is bad news for CSO because she's also very potent against buildings at this point in time. So if B wants, he could just start using JD to take down buildings at this point in time as well.
Yeah, this game, I'm just trying to see where CSO gets back into it. He cannot produce any more knights, and so B is gonna be able to just do this for all day. I mean, he's gonna be sitting at 183 pop versus 135 for CSO. That tells a story right there. In a late game, it's whoever can maintain the full population maximum is who's gonna win the game. And if CSO can't maintain that level of population, he can't make these trades, and he's got no gold behind it. So these knights, once they're gone, and they are going down very quickly here as Siege now comes into play for B. And it just feels like it's a matter of time. You look at the numbers per minute here. Not a lot of food for B. He needs to make a farm transition of his own, it looks like. But he's got enough wood and gold that he could probably do that.
Yeah, I mean CSO is in the stage of processing, which is very common in this kind of a situation, right? I think he knows that really, from a mathematical perspective, a win is virtually impossible from this position. And yeah, GG is called as B does take game number 3 on Frisian Marshes as JD against CSO's French. What an explosive game, Sokoton.
Yeah, it really felt like CSO had an edge for a while there, too. I think it came down to that bad fight he took in the base of B, where he got kind of flanked by both sets of those spears with JD behind, and he lost his archer mass. I think that really was the deciding, like, pendulum swing in this game. Because otherwise, he was doing really well. It felt like CSO was definitely in the driver's seat for most of it. And the tricky thing is, again, going against a player as good as B is, as experienced as B is, it only takes one bad fight. And if that decisive fight happens and then he can get his bearings and settle down and take the game late with an advantage, it's going to go to B every time. But CSO, it can't be understated how close of a game this really was. This was very close.
It was incredible.
This initial pull here as he baited B into chasing those knights while hitting the gold behind. Oh, what a great way to start the game. I mean, just classic maneuvering there. His early raids were so good. His early effectiveness was so good. His knight count, after this engagement, he's down a little bit, but ended up being up a bit. Was just consistently doing a lot of good. I think what B did right, though, was the raids on the back end as well. He threw a lot of knights away raiding again and again and again. But
And it really
eventually it
paid
paid
off.
off because it really did, because eventually he got the good fight. He was down in military a long time. This was a big fight here too that kind of felt like a wash, because the north side, you'll see, it goes in CSO's favor, but the south side goes in favor of B. She did level up here though, which helped a lot.
Yeah, this fight here, I really feel like was a little bit premature here for CSO. I mean, it looked very even, right? And I'm not sure why you would ever want to take such an even fight against JD in that kind of a situation. I mean, she got level 3 pretty much solely from that fight, right? So that's a big power spike for JD in this kind of a situation. And CSO, just like you mentioned, he felt so firmly in control for the vast majority of this game. But sometimes that's all it takes, just one bad fight timing there in B's base, when he has defender's advantage, is enough to flip it all around. A CSO with a 3-1 knight advantage he had at that point in time, just washed away by the sheer flood of spears.
Yeah, I really wish he'd made more archers, or maybe been a little more careful diving into the base, because throwing it away all those knights into B's base in such a critical moment, I really think that was the deciding factor, right?
Yeah.
Was he just got flanked on both sides by spears.
100%.
The archers in the middle eventually got swallowed up. Like, if that fight had gone his way, he'd have won the game, but it didn't, because the spear number was just one too many.
Exactly.
And at this point in the game, whereas we're watching here, it was already over. It's just by merit of no gold for CSO. I mean, that wins it alone.
And I want to say, I do feel very worried for CSO in this kind of a position, being 2-1 down after such a game. Very often in the past, we have seen matches reach this sort of situation where there is one game, typically when the series is tied neck and neck, 1-1, as we saw, where there's just that one game which is just so intense, so close, often very long, which this one wasn't, but for a French JD mirror, it was pretty long, right?
It felt long.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's like these kind of games are so exhausting, not only physically on the players, but also mentally. And finding yourself losing a game like this can often take such a heavy toll on not only your mental tempo for the rest of the series, but also on you physically in turn, that often whole series are decided by games like this. So I think CSO really has a mountain ahead of him to climb in this position, whereas B has to be very careful and keep respecting CSO's prowess here, because CSO might be one of those players that bites back hardest when they're down.
It's one of those things where, like, the score looks like you're behind, but you played well the entire time so far. In fact, even just taking a game from B is already a really good improvement. I mean, he's only done that once before. Doing it again today, game 1 was really good. Game 2 just felt like kind of a rough one, right? Like, that was rough. This game, this last one could have gone either way. It really came down to that fight. I mean, B's experience really showing through here. CSO looks scary to me, I think. I mean, we think of B as being one of the top, like, 3 or 4 players in the world. CSO might be cementing his name in a top 5. He is looking really decent, and I've been very impressed throughout this whole series, this whole tournament even. I've been impressed with how good he has been. Unfortunately for him, B just a little bit better in this last one, and what was almost essentially a mirror match. But we've got a new game coming up on Dry Arabia. It's Delhi and Zhu Shi coming right up in just a couple seconds. We going to see our first look at pro scouts today, you think?
Most likely. I mean, I would definitely not rule it out for either of these civilizations, as we do jump into game number 4. 3DB spawning in the north side of the map as the Green Delhi Sultanate, and his opponent in the south side of the map, trailing 1 game behind Team Elephant's CSO in the color orange, piloting the Zhu Shi's legacy. And this matchup here, Sokoton, divides many players as to who is favored.
Yeah, I mean, if we had more time beforehand, I would have asked you who you prefer. Personally, I don't know. It's so much can go. So I think early, I kind of like Zhu Shi. If they get pro scouts going in, if they can get the deer in. Again, I'm saying if a million times, because it's so much can happen. Delhi obviously can pump and flood so many units. A lot can happen. If they ever get to a later game stage where they can start pumping out elephants, it obviously feels really good for them. But then, of course, you got Nesta Bees. You've got so many things. This matchup is, I'd have to look at the numbers again, but it feels just so hard to call early in the game.
It's definitely difficult. Both civs have so many strengths. And I think historically, Jushi has been seen as a somewhat of a counter to Delhi. There's just the kind of tempo that Jushi is able to put out with their efficient production from, boosted production buildings by the imperial officials, the increased economy from the imperial officials, as well as supervision on drop-off buildings. These kind of timings is something that Delhi can really struggle to keep up with. Add on top of that, the Tang Dynasty discount for a sneaky castle age for the Jushi's legacy as well, likely fueled by the deer that CSO is definitely going to want to pick up with Pro Scouts in this matchup, especially, I would say. And quite often Jushi plays a little bit of a few delay just to contest the initial sacred site capturing from the Delhi and then zoom towards a castle age behind it. We have seen this matchup played a few weeks ago, Marine Lord against Puppy Paw on Lipany, one of Delhi's best maps. And Marine Lord definitely made it look very one-sided in that series.
Dome of the Faith coming down for B. I don't think anyone's terribly surprised by that. Haven't seen a lot of Tower Victory in this current meta. It's kind of come and gone. It used to be joked that we used to call it the Tower of Defeat, and then suddenly it became really good. And now maybe I haven't heard anyone refer to it as that recently, but definitely doesn't seem to be picked very often. Meditation Gardens, what a good spot for that. Wow. Berries, wood, gold, and stone. You could not ask for much more if you're CSO.
Yeah, that's an absolutely incredible Meditation Gardens, actually. Not only does he get the 8 stack of berries, but 48 food. On top of it, 50 stone, 25 gold, and a good chunk of wood as well, maybe around 16 to 24 wood. That's an over 100 resource per minute Meditation Gardens.
Yeah, that's really good. No, I feel like Zushi's best case scenario here is denying the sacred sites, getting the deer with Pro Scouts, and getting to castle quickly. Now, obviously, you probably can't do all of that easily against someone like B, but that'd be like your idea. If you could just, make that happen, you'd be feeling really, really good in this game. I'm curious to see how this will plan out, though.
We have a bit of a slow priority on the age up here from B. This is something some players at least have been doing a bit recently. We see only 2 on the gold. I think a third one just got added as we looked away there. And only 3 on the Dome of the Faith. So what does this mean, right? Well, B is going to have a slightly higher wood bank when he does finish aging, so he can opt for whatever production buildings he needs immediately, as well as a rapid follow-up afterwards. That might potentially be a stable. It might be a blacksmith opener here for him. I wouldn't be too surprised to see stable, because we did mention that Pro Scouts possibility from the Jushi, which, judging by CSO's macro here, just shy of the gold needed, likely to be queued up any moment here. Yep, and there it comes.
There it is.
Yeah,
Good call.
Stable will be next for him behind this. And the Ghazi are able to really deny those Pro Scouts initially, right? So I do think that is what we will see from B, and Spears should be the follow-up from CSO.
Now we have our blueprint. We see professional scouts coming in for B. Both players opting to go professional scouts. Now that's interesting. That's a bit different than I was kind of expecting, because I was wondering if B would just play for the denial. But here he's playing for them as well. It's queued up. Actually, it might take a while though, but it is queued up. And that's the tricky thing with Delhi, right? They can go pro scouts, but it just feels like it takes a long time. Oftentimes you'll see someone drop a second mill to get that going as well. But he only has the 1, so it's going to be a while. Maybe I bet he's, like you're saying, opting to go for some Ghazis. Maybe try to deny it first, and then maybe later down the line, take those deer for himself.
Wait a second. There's an additional scout in queue for B already. No Ghazis. Did you see this?
Yeah, he's not going to get professional scouts for a while, though. It's going to take a while for that to click in.
That must have been a misclick or something, surely. Oh, I think he's short on wood. I think he missed macro just slightly, was late onto the wood and didn't have enough wood to produce the Ghazis. They are now in turn, so he just uses the time to get an extra scout.
Make a scout
out,
anyways.
Yeah.
That makes sense. If you can't...
It can't hurt, right? So...
Trying to macro as best you can. When you have a bit of a missed macro, you might as well still spend what you can and even it out. You do see the first deer being aggressed here. Horseman out for CSO. Try and take care of the scout. He'll at least shoo him away. The tricky thing is Ghazi versus Horseman. I feel like Ghazi definitely feel better.
It's a very interesting one, because quite notably the Ghazis, although stat-wise they are superior in almost every way, it's not quite every way. The Horsemen, notably, not only do they have faster attack speed, but they also have more range as well. And combined with Jushi's unique technology, Dali horses, giving them an additional 20 or 25% attack speed. It's one or the other. I feel like their horsemen might actually potentially win against the Ghazis cost for cost, if I'm not mistaken. As to whether it gets to that stage, we'll have to see. CSO doesn't want to risk anything, though. He does opt for his own barracks in turn to help offset any kind of harassment from B's Ghazi. And really,
Shout
the
out
name...
to shout out to Vodka and our production crew for showing us the meditation gardens there for a second. I don't know if anyone caught that. That was a lot of resources coming in. I've rarely seen such a good meditation gardens as that. Like it's hard to get much better than that. As to your point, yeah, we see the Ghazis and stuff coming out. Looks like CSO being cautious here, going for his own deer first, which he can do because it's still going to be a while for B to get professional scouts on his end. So he really could take his first and then go back and grab B's deer if he can.
Yes, I mean, as long as B keeps his deer on his side of the map safe, and they are reasonably close to his base, sort of firmly on his third of the map, he'll be relatively happy. He put some delay on CSO here getting his own deer. Realistically, neither player is really going to be able to take any of the other ones there. That shouldn't really be possible with the way the armies are being massed here. Sacred sites are being captured now by B, though. The center one looks like he's going to be locked in. Left one is harassed slightly, but that should be soon to follow as well. And CSO looks to play pretty standard Jushi here. There's a heavy priority onto Horsemen here, which is not normally seen as much by most Jushi players, but Zuganu and Spearman follow as well.
Well, and B has opted not to go for the barracks. You mentioned that he would probably go spears behind this. He's gone for archers instead. Kind of an interesting choice. And so for CSO to lean heavy into Horsemen does kind of work out for him here.
It does, for sure. In these early skirmishes especially, having melee units, notably spears and horsemen, is usually favorable over having any archers, because archers, although they're a very, very strong unit, you need a certain mass with them first. Ideally, around 9 or 10, to be able to start one-shotting those spears, and ideally a few more as well in order to offset any kind of losses you may have, so that you can still one-shot those spears. I see a little skirmish here. The Scholar is paying huge dividends here with the healing. One of the Ghazis do go down. The Scholar will fall as well, but costly trade here for CSO.
Yeah, but probably worth it, right? Because that Sacred Site does not get captured because of it.
It's true.
You know, the Sacred Site spawns here pretty far away. On Dry Arabia, there always feels pretty sparse. Feels like a long way to go with not a lot of cover on any of them for B.
You're right, actually. It does seem like they're even more spread out here than on most Dry Arabia spawns that I've seen. At least they are very, very far from each other. Notably, these look a little bit more like Rocky Canyon. If you know the map, it's quite similar to what it looks like there. But B, still only Ghazis and archers for now being produced. He did opt for the undermesh first in anticipation of the Zuganu, so he has that already in. Steeled Arrow on the way in now as well for him, for both players, in fact. And CSO still committing to this feudal age.
Yeah, and the destroyed value is very much in his favor, right? Look at that, 1,000 to 385. He's doing really good work with these horsemen. In fact, he's going for more scholars. He's flooding the earth with his units. Feels like CSO is playing pretty aggressive, and it's working for him. And, you know, it always feels bad as Deli as we see another scholar goes down. That's -2 for B. Those are not cheap. I mean, they're cheaper than most people's scholars, but losing those is such a big loss. You know, you're losing out on the Sacred Site play, on the extra healing you could get. You're losing out on the research timing speed, the amount of time it takes to build them. So for losing 2 of those now, it does not feel good if you're B.
No, it definitely adds up very quickly, right? You're very correct in highlighting. And the sticky thing here for B is that feudal age is not an age that he wins long term, right? Once that Zuganu mass gets too severe, once the Dali horsemen really come online fully, which they're starting to now, only Undermesh is out for CSO at this point in time. But once the Zuganu mass is too... Oh yeah, and Dali horse is actually not researched just yet. That's something he'll look for next, most likely. So once that is in for him as well, and the Zuganu mass is reaching 20 and above, these are numbers and units that B cannot really handle in this feudal age, especially without the Tower of Victory to give his units that extra military prowess. Ideally, B wanted to get out of the feudal age ASAP, but he might have not expected this level of unit commitment from CSO, and as a result, finds himself a bit stuck.
Well, CSO looks like he's in between choosing to stay in feudal or maybe save and age up the castle right now. He's kind of floating right in that middle zone where I can't quite tell just by looking at the numbers what he's gunning for. Military numbers are pretty even. Village numbers are pretty much dead even.
Yeah, it's this dance right now for CSO, right? That you often find yourself in. He has the map control. He denied the sacred sites. At this point in time, he needs to be very, very careful to what level he commits to units. And when he ages up, it's a very, very delicate balance to strike in a lot of matchups and in a lot of games, which, you know, is a hallmark of what can separate a good player from a great player, knowing this balance of investment between Feudal Age and Castle Age. We do see now...
Big engagement coming up right here. Archers getting picked off slowly by the Jugunu. Spears looking formidable. Both parties. Lots of scholars there to heal up, though. That could be really difficult for CSO. Big engagement. They dive in. The Ghazi's trying to do some damage. Backing away before the Spears can get too heavily on them. It's back and forth. Hard to tell who's winning. Scholars healing up the back line. Nice and safe. Doesn't look great for CSO with the Scholars. With Archer number falling very fast for B. And once that goes down, the Scholars are just going to be easy pickings. And there they go. Start going down. There's one. The second one goes down. But the Horsemen falling to the Ghazis. And suddenly it's CSO who's backing up. Pretty even fight both ways, though. Just enough Horsemen and Spears to keep CSO in this. That Jugunu number needs to stay in mass. Otherwise, it'll be really bad. But slowly and surely, this feels like kind of a wash. And now that is exactly what CSO needed, because he was macroing towards Castle. The Shaolin Monastery comes up. And I got to say, CSO played this very well.
Yeah, that was absolutely stellar there from CSO. The fight looked a little bit sketchy at first with that Scholar healing. There was a huge amount of archers and Ghazis, and initially CSO was losing that fight. But once those archers were gone, the spears were able to turn the tide somewhat. Eventually the horsemen did fall and the Ghazis overwhelmed. However, the numbers were even. But that entire time, CSO was ready for Castle Age in the bank behind this, so an even fight for him there was incredibly advantageous. Now B fully reinvesting into units, even in army count to CSO, and the whole age behind Sokoton.
Yeah, with no sacred sites either. This has been a really good game from CSO. He's just played this incredibly well. I think the matchup at first, going heavy into Horsemen, while maybe a little unorthodox, really is working in this matchup because, I mean, there's no spears on B's side for it. So really the Ghazis are trying to frontline, and with a couple of spears trickled in from CSO's side, if you can just get a couple of those to sneak in there, I mean, that fight was really, really even. And the use of the Scholars really is what kept me in that. But he'd lost another one or two with CSO sniping them. And so the Scholar loss, I mean, he's, from my count, he's lost 4. There could be more. But that's a lot of Scholars to drop if you're Delhi, especially only 14 minutes in.
It definitely is, and considering you haven't been able to lean so much onto the sacred side gold income that Delhi is normally able to lean into, it hits even more so than before. And now CSO, with a tech advantage, Shaolin Priest not being queued up just yet, because he did go for the monastery, so I thought someone would be on the way yet, but instead, finding himself with slight food struggles here naturally, as they have started running out. And instead it's going to be Lancers and Palace Guards in queue for him now. Zugunu upgrade is pretty slow behind this, only now being queued up. I'm not sure. I don't think it's being supervised, but I might be wrong.
Well, regardless, he pushes the Zugunu up and in, and the villagers on berries have to run away, because also, while CSO's running out of food behind this, so is B. And Delhi, I feel like both these civs actually really get hampered by lack of food. I mean, that's one of their weaknesses I would say both have, as we see a nice little raid from the Ghazi onto CSO's berry villagers. Back and forth. They both know they're both food starved. The difference is, though, is that CSO is up in age.
Yeah, it's such a significant advantage in this case, and all the Ghazi raiders are pretty adept at dealing with armored units because of the extra damage they have against Palace Guards and Lancers in this situation. They are still an age behind, so they will trade very unfavorably the longer this goes on for B. And you can see him desperately diving towards that back line of Zugunu. He has to take them out, but if he dives to the back line, his Ghazis are dead, and with his Ghazis dead, there's no good answer anymore to these armored units here for B. And we see, he also forgot the double broadaxe behind this, Sokoton. There's no double broadaxe for B.
Oh no, yeah, this game might be over. I think CSO might be able to tie this up. These Lancers, there's nowhere to go. The Scholars are doing their best to keep everyone alive, but the Lancers taking everyone down one by one. No gods. Okay, 2 gods is now on the field. 3 trying to do something about this. Even though they have the plus damage to heavy armor, these Lancers are tanky, and they have to flee, and there they go. There's just too many Lancers in the field. And you know, the food is safer for CSO now in the back of this. He is getting some. There's another raid actually on the food as I say that. Looks like there has been some more Gazis in the back line trying to slow down CSO.
Yeah, I mean, B's
No, they just
doing...
left. They're going to the new berries, yeah.
There's a great job here by B utilizing the scholars for that heal to just squeeze as much value as he can possibly out of these units. But it's just a war of attrition that I don't think he can possibly win, right? These armored units are just too much at this point in time to handle, right? They're gonna keep coming, and it's not like B has the ability to spare raiding units behind this to disrupt CSO's food income, which granted is stalling right now, only 300 food per minute now for him, and dropping actually, as he looks to resecure more food, I would assume.
He is raiding in the back of this though and getting some value out of that. But yeah, it feels like right now, again, both these civs really struggle with what do you do when the food runs out. Obviously, we see B has been pretty well delayed there on his food. He's got a lot coming in though. He's managed to find some food somewhere. Tricky thing for him, the tricky thing for B is he's got no gold. He's got the food, no gold. Meanwhile, CSO, it's kind of the opposite, right? He's got the gold, didn't have the food. He's got 600 a minute now, so he's going to start getting more and more here up online. And once that happens, if B opts to try and rush up castle, there's going to be a huge window for CSO to push in.
CSO might have thrown away a few too many units in these initial engagements in Castle Age, right? Where he had the quality, but then B just reinvested into units and had a superior mass in turn, so was able to clean up the entirety of CSO's Zuganu mass, which he is now looking to replenish. And using the scholars there with the Ghazi allowed for some pretty good trades despite being an age down. CSO, whilst not gathering relics behind this, he has to be very, very careful to not sort of overextend himself as he did in the last game, right? We need to exercise just a little bit of patience here. Start getting those relics, secure this lead, keep denying the sacred sites, and not look to do too much here, because he has the lead, just has to not throw it away.
I like what you're saying. It feels like CSO is trying to do just a little too much. He really should just take it a little slower here. Pretty good engagement there with the Juganu behind now. And that's gonna, he just needs to get a mass. Once he gets a sizable mass again, it's gonna be his game to lose. We see those spears just aren't going to be long for this world. The Ghazis will be able to do a little bit more damage, but they're going to have to run back because just one too many things. We do see palace guards on the way for CSO, and now he's that food income trickling up little by little. Once he's online, B is just forever stuck in feudal. It feels like he's trying to save up. In a minute or two, he might be able to get up enough to age up. But then, at what point are you going to be able to keep up the military units?
Quite interestingly here for CSO, he actually opted to build a separate monastery and train a regular monk to start getting relics, as opposed to the Shaolin monastery. Now, I'm not sure if part of it is him forgetting he has the Shaolin monastery, or a conscious choice in order to use gold instead of food to get his relics as Shaolin monks. 200 food, especially at this point in time, definitely not
Ghazi's wrapped the Zuganu.
Yeah, big wrap.
Ghazi's wrapping the Zuganu. This is a great exchange for B, and this is one of those things you were mentioning, like CSO trying to do too much. Lancers will clean this up eventually. I really should get those scholars. Yeah, there we go. Now those scholars are dead, and that might be just the breakthrough that CSO is looking for. A costly price to pay. He really needs to focus the scholars.
It really does, but it's so tough, right? Like, the scholars will keep healing themselves, and any spear that comes out will need to be focused down very quickly, as even an age down, the spear's bonus damage is not something to be underestimated. CSO, still massing up Lancers, still massing up Zuganu behind this, but he just can't quite break through, right? He just doesn't... He shouldn't really trade like this up against B's scholars, because ultimately, even an age ahead is just value that is being thrown away. Now,
yeah,
at least
those
one
7
relic
scholars are definitely a thorn in the side of CSO. But the good news for him is he has kept B away from Castle Age. This is still delaying the Castle Age. And behind this, CSO is now up to 1,000 food a minute. This is going to swing in his favor very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. With the relics now now starting to be collected, CSO finally took a little bit of moment to breathe, reassert his economy, start getting the relics to get himself further ahead, and is now finally starting to look for some raids as well. This is what you have to do, right? Food is very limited for both him and B, and instead of fighting directly into this army, although technically you have the stronger army as CSO, you should probably just go for the safer villages instead, and those losses really add up for B.
Yeah, Scholars now going down, finally getting some Lancers on top of that. That's going to make the difference here, because those things have just been keeping too much value on the field for B. Scholars going down. They're trying to heal each other, which is always a funny thing to see. Seeing it just seems very counterproductive for what they need to be doing. But Lancers on top of that, Jugunu going down from the Gazis. Villagers around the corner just kind of looking over their shoulders as they gather berries, ignoring the carnage that's happening on the battlefield. Lancers sitting on the spears, and they gotta get out of there now. A lot of damage done, however. A lot of scholars down. All that's left is some spears. At this point, you back up, keep the high-value targets alive, and get your Zugunu mass back in there. A lot of value for CSO. And again, B is just forever stuck in feudal. This will go CSO's way as long as he doesn't let B get some kind of a crazy mass in his base.
Yeah, absolutely. This constant forced fighting, although it may not be 100% efficient for CSO with these trades, it keeps forcing a reinvestment here from B, as you highlight. As long as he can keep him in this feudal age, he knows that eventually he will be ahead. Jiangnan Tower now on the way for CSO as well, so Granary Transition is going to go up behind this. We see 1500 wood in the bank for him. That's enough for so many farms behind this, and with those secured, see the pump can continue endlessly, and yeah, B knows it. It's just too much at this point in time. CSO taking game number 4 up against B. Time the series up again. Yeah,
2-2, and this is the first time CSO has gone 2 games against B in a series. I mean, he's only had 1 game in a tournament against him before this. Now suddenly he finds himself going the distance a little bit. 2-2. We go to a game number 5 with a tied series, neck and neck. Excellently played by both CSO and B. Man, you know, the difference was I really think he just, that early game, it took a while for CSO to secure the victory, which is fine. You know, B is a really good player. It's going to take a while to convert the victory, but CSO getting the advantage really easily, well done in feudal. You had to fight for it a little bit back and forth, but managing to keep B off of the sacred sites was just so crucial, because in the end, B just never had the gold income.
Yeah, it's so tough to in this position as Delhi, right? You have all these horsemen running around the map here for CSO. This severe initial superior military pump that Jushi can have over Delhi, as normally Delhi are the ones with their efficient production, thanks to the scholars that they can garrison in production buildings, normally have the edge in terms of mass in these early skirmishes. However, CSO, with access to his own supervision, as well as the superior dare gathering rate early on, thanks to that pro scouts as opposed to B, allows him to match the mass, fully contest the sacred sites, and get himself in a commanding position. This skirmish here was incredibly pivotal for both players, right? It was looking very even for most of it. Yeah. So many scholars down.
I think he gets 3. Yeah, 3 scholars in the span of 15 seconds, 4 right there. Yeah, that amount of value, it just can't be understated. Like, that swings the game in favor, because B has to invest that gold back into those guys. And so that just keeps him from Castle Age forever more. Meanwhile, behind this, CSO was able to click up very shortly after that. It just comes back to, I think, the fact that B was way late into making spears. He went horse archer into Jugunu horseman. So Ghazi archer into Jugunu horseman doesn't feel good. I really feel like B maybe would have benefited from like a 1-1-1 comp, perhaps, which is tough to macro for with 3 different production buildings, and it would have been difficult, but it just feels like he had no answer to the horseman.
It's very difficult because, yeah, there's so many ways that Jushi can play this in Feudal Age. Like, some people go for a very heavy spearman priority, some people go for a heavy horseman priority like CSO did this game. Some people go Zugunu straight away, pretty much. And getting a read of that as Delhi, even as B in this situation, can be so difficult. He saw the horsemen initially, he might have thought, okay, it's probably just a few horsemen to deny and harass those initial sites, and then it's going to be full-on spear Zugunu, so I won't even bother with spears, because, you know, I mean, ideally, you don't want to go into spears as Delhi unless you have to, which is against, like, knight civilizations, notably, or civilizations with like, way stronger cavalry, like Keshiks, for example. So, B, I don't think he wanted to go into those spears until he really had to, but when he realized he had to, it was already a little bit too late, because there were already so many horsemen on the field.
Yeah, then it just felt like he was in a hole, right? Because both civs running out of food, except the other guy's already up a Castle Age. I mean, it's just put him in such a difficult spot, and the fact that B was able to get his deer in, I mean, he only got his 2 packs in that I saw, but then also to deny his sacred sites. I mean, I said at the beginning of the game, like, if you are Zushi, what's your best outcome, right? You want to deny the sacred sites, get those deer, and get up to Castle Age. And he did all 3 of those things, and that was the game. So I didn't didn't know if that was going to happen, but a very strong showing from CSO. Man, he is really making this series competitive. And he is, we said it before, I'll say it again now. He's looked good this entire tournament. B, of course, always looks really good and has always been very, very effective in these tournaments. And now, as we have 5 minutes to dive into the next game, we'll be on Carmel, Zushi, and Chinese. We're getting another pseudo mirror of sorts. I think I'm going to coin that term, put a little TM, trademark it, make it my, everyone can pay me royalties for that one later. But another pseudo mirror match here. This one plays a little bit more different than I feel like the French JD mirror does. Not quite as diametrically mirrored. But who do you give the edge to in this one? Which Chinese faction is better to the mind of Myriad?
It's another one that's quite tough to call. It bears worth mentioning that this does come after our redraft, right? After 4 games in, we do have a redraft for those who are not aware. So standardly, we'll just briefly talk about that first. We do have the HRE and Rus and as standard by now, right? It's what we've come to see so far. Both Civ just incredibly strong, incredibly versatile in this tournament. And normally that is followed up by a handshake agreement between either side for Jushi and China, as we see here, right? This is all very, very standard. I think this has been the hallmark of most drafts. And then things open up quite a bit, right? We see that is when players' priorities for Civs do change. We see Mongols banned away for B by CSO, and then we see JD banned away from CSO by B.
No one wants to see the
repeat. That's really funny. No one wants that. Now CSO he did get his signature Japanese, and that might be something he pulls out later today. He's definitely made a name for himself with that civilization, as we have seen. He has Malians, Byzantines, and JD on the side, where CSO also has Delhi and the House of Lancaster. But as you mentioned, Tokuton, Carmel as our next map, Jushi against China. Well, we know there's a lot of deer here, right? So I think
it's just pro scout fest, right?
It's a pro scout fest to the max. Is what is going to be here.
Be a little less exciting than some games. Looking at that French JD mirror, that was a high octane game. This one's going to be a little more free delivery time. So they're probably both going to go pro scouts. Who has got the edge though? Who do you think plays better? I've seen this go both ways. I think I've seen China take it more often than not. But I don't know if that feels anecdotal to me.
If you want to really sort of, I think, simplify how this matchup goes, there's a bit of disagreement among a lot of capable players regarding this. But in my mind, it kind of comes down to Jushi has a notable tempo advantage over China, thanks to the meditation gardens, thanks to having that IO out of the gate. The cheaper age up on the Tang dynasty as well for that castle age is very, very useful for them. Jushi also has the superior cavalry, thanks to Dali horses. They do have the stronger lancers in castle age. However, Chinese economy runs away here in this matchup a little bit.
That's my thoughts. If it goes late into castle, I feel like China starts getting that edge, because I feel like I've seen it where they take a fight and then China gets ahead, kind of like we saw with like JD versus Joan of Arc. Like once they get ahead with a good fight in Castle Age, suddenly things start to change in the late game. China, I feel like, overtakes. But you're right, the tempo in favor of B to start this one off. I mean, it's one of those things like it's a coin flip to me at this point now, right? Like both these players have shown they are exceptional at this kind of style of play. It'll be interesting to see what this turns into. I mean, we'll obviously probably see. I'd be shocked if both players don't go for a very quick pro scouts. Is there anything else you would do? Maybe is there any other plays you could see outside of pro scouts? It feels ridiculous to even consider it, because it's just so much of the meta for these civs.
I mean, there's a world in which maybe one of these players actually opts for potentially a feudal age 2 TC. That might be a little bit crazy, just because of the nature of the map, because it's so open. And because it slows you down so much, you're likely to miss out on pretty much all the relics if you do so. If any Dust Civ goes for that, I would assume it would be China that goes for it, specifically because of that scaling that we talked about, right? The cheaper IOs, the additional taxes for China, this really starts mounting up throughout the game and works out in their favor, I think, the longer it goes. Obviously, in the late game, they just have the superior siege over Jushi, as well as having probably the stronger army, thanks to those hand cannoneers and palace guards as well. I think they're a little bit stronger with all the unique techs than Jushis, if I'm not mistaken, outside of Ming Dynasty, but I might be wrong. Maybe someone can correct me on that. But yeah, I mean, what I'm particularly curious here to see is the level, is what kind of compositions we will see going into that cast stage when things really start to open up, right? But as we load here,
game number 5. Yep, we're into game number 5, all tied up at 2. It's going to be B and CSO going at it again. B as Zushi's Legacy, the Chinese variant, and CSO playing the OG Chinese, and another pseudo mirror matchup. As we've got a very open map with lots of deer all around. We expect pro scouts. We'll see if we get something different.
with so many juicy deer all around the map, I'd be very surprised to see something else. But as we mentioned before, the series Sokoton, right, with these two players, things can take a turn for the unexpected sometimes.
That said, the last couple games have felt pretty standard. I don't feel like any of these players have done anything too crazy. They're both playing what I would consider is overall just the meta.
It's true. It's true. They have, I guess, there's an element of apprehension probably in such a serious set, in such a serious tournament, right? You have these ideas that you've practiced a few times, maybe that you think could work very well, but maybe they're not fully tested and flashed out in the laboratory yet, right? In the practice laboratory. So you might not want to risk putting them out yet, and instead rely on what is known to work effectively, right? And maybe we'll see something in further series from either of these players, depending on who makes it through.
Yeah, especially given how close this series has been. I mean, we've been talking about it all day. Like B is just such a good player, right? He is such a good player, top 3 in the world, I think by most people's accounting. Then CSO comes on the scene, has been looking really good. And at this point, like, I'm sitting there looking at it going, man, it's 2-2. Like, initially going in, we were showing the stats that like B had won all but one game against CSO, so he was 9-1 and had taken every single series, and suddenly it's a 2-2 split. I don't know that I mentioned before, like, don't count past performance as an indicative example of what you should expect going forward, because CSO has been putting in some really good work, as we see Meditation Gardens going down 4B in a pretty good spot as well. Not quite as good as what CSO had last game. There's no berries in range, but wood, stone, and gold, pretty decent.
Yeah, sometimes they can be very juicy meditation guns on this map as well. You can sometimes you can even get triple berries for upwards of 100 food income passively from it. Of course, you do trade off any kind of gold or wood or stone to make that possible, but he's gonna opt instead for a pretty decent one here, right? I mean, wood, stone, and gold, definitely a good meditation guns there for him. Not too crazy, but better than average without a doubt. CSO opting for a somewhat slow age up on the Imperial Academy. Normally we do see a priority to the 3 or 4 villages instead. The CSO is going to have about a close to minute 4 age up timing here instead, more akin to something a normal civilization would have.
Makes me wonder if he's going for like a Song Dynasty or something, but we see him moving on to the woods, so that still screams pro scouts to my eyes.
Might get ourselves a little sheep count here soon enough just to determine who has the advantage in that regard. It looks like B has not yet dropped off his. We have 18 sheep total that are left standing.
That's a
5
ton.
Carcasses. Yeah, that is a lot.
Does it even need pro scouts
CSO.
at this rate? That's a ton of food.
Oh,
Not
no.
nearly as many for B. Did B just like lose out on all the sheep?
Oh, that's horrific for B. 8 sheep to, what is it, 20 plus for CSO? That's such a severe deficit. There's a few more here for B, luckily. Okay, 3 more here, so it won't be.
Okay, that's gonna help him out a lot,
bad,
but
yeah.
still, I mean,
that is still
knowing
really
that
bad.
Zushi is so food dependent, right? And when it comes to losing your food, we saw it last game that it really slowed CSO down, and actually both players really got affected by the lack of food as they got about 25 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, luckily B found 4 extra sheep there towards the eastern side of his base. That will definitely help him out here, but still.
Imagine if he hadn't. Oh man.
Yeah, that would be a desperate situation. But it's still a 3-1, I think, sheep split favor here for CSO. Quite a big lead in a very volatile, food-orientated matchup like this one.
There is just a lot of sheep in general in this map too. That can't be understated. We do see pro scouts coming from both. Hey, look what to the surprise of almost nobody. Pro Scout Fest. Everyone can sit back, relax, take a quick little cat nap as we'll get some really exciting part of this game will happen in about 5 minutes or so.
Yep. For now, both players will likely just sit back, gather their saved deer. It's a bit tough to kind of invest too much into military here to try to deny either side because, I mean, the deer are always so condensed onto one side of the map for each player that realistically you can't do much to contest it. And if you make too many units, your castle age is then slowed down, right? Now, likely we're going to have a notably faster castle age here from B on the Jushi as opposed to the Chinese, most likely. We saw his Pro Scout coming in first as well. Scout lead for him too at this point in time. So, a little bit of what we mentioned before, right? Jushi has that tempo speed lead over China in terms of timings with the age up, with the technologies, thanks to that stronger early game economy. But that can quickly go in Chinese's favor, as we see already 3 Imperial officials out on the field. 4th one probably soon to come out as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I kind of wonder if like these guys have like the gentleman's agreement behind this. Like, you know, we just had a bunch of really high chaotic map fighting over the last couple of things. We've had a lot of tough, close games. We just take a couple minutes to just gather our sheep. You know, gentleman's agreement. I'll take mine. You take yours. You know, we don't need to go across. I wonder at what point like this becomes kind of like they just get to kind of relax a little bit mid game here before it gets hyped up and dangerous. As we see more coming in, that's still many sheep though for CSO. I wonder how that'll affect things later down the line.
The only disadvantage to having that many sheep for CSO is they'll make it a bit difficult to force a drop off onto the mill with the villagers, which is quite an annoying issue that can happen sometimes with China and Jushi specifically, right? As you get the deer towards the mill. But yeah, it's a very very slow and controlled early game here, right? As we mentioned, both players will just get their deer in nice and safe, so deer counts will be pretty much even. As you mentioned, sheep advantage is notable for CSO here, but the tech advantage is notable here for B, as he is on his way to the castle age first, already halfway done by the time CSO starts his, and it's going to be the Mount Lu Academy.
It's an interesting choice. Clock Tower on the opposite side, much more standard, I would say, for Chinese. I don't see the Mount Lu Academy very often from Zushi. Often it's the other landmark, but is that a Grand Theft Venison happening underneath?
Oh, look at that.
No
the Grand Theft Venison from B.
Grand Theft Venison, just taking it and pulling out.
The disrespect.
Just being as annoying as he can be. That is hilarious. CSO says, hey, not swiper, no swiping, takes it and brings it back home. That is funny.
That is funny. Just a little bit of
disrespect right there. Just a little cheese I'm sure they're both laughing at that interaction there.
Yeah,
that's
just
so
to
funny.
make sure he pays attention, right? But the Mount Lu here is an interesting choice. Normally we do see that Shaolin monastery coming in for the Jushi, right? To get those early monks out, get those relics in ASAP. The notable thing with the Mount Lu Academy, and we already have the research coming in, I believe it is going to be regional inspection for 3DB here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so that's going to significantly boost the supervision speed, doubling it, in fact, for the Imperial officials on the state. When you can see, how long does it take for a Lancer to come out in this state, I wonder? I think it's...
Oh yeah, Vodka could take a look at that for us.
It's close to 10 seconds, I think, right? 14 seconds.
14 seconds. Good gravy, that is a lot of fast nights. Speed, they are speed. Yeah, versus 35. That is an insane difference. Now, the trick is, can you pump out? Do you have the resources to pump out that many? That's the question now. It's like, if you can do it, you got the money. They're ready to send them flying, as we already have 2 more on the way. Lancers on the field versus 3 and another 3 in the queue for CSO.
Yeah,
this is gonna turn into like a French mirror almost. So just knights on knights, Lancers versus Lancers, as we dive in now 9 minutes and 17 seconds into game number 5.
And you're completely correct. This would evolve into a bit of a knight-on-knight action in this game, Lancer on Lancer to be more exact. And this is a situation that B is going to be very, very happy with, right? Having the superior Lancers once that Daliosis comes in, which is straight away prioritized by B in this instance. Is going to make such a significant impact in these fights and really push it to his favor. And CSO, I think, has to be really, really careful with the level of knight investment that he makes. His economy is going to slowly start being superior to B the longer this game goes. However, the Knights are definitely favoring B. So I do think CSO will need to opt for either a barracks or an archery range, maybe both, eventually to offset the strength of B's Knights. But of course, raiding is a possibility, right? So
Yeah, it definitely is an interesting thing. And I'm thinking about like the clock tower for CSO. Like Nesta Bs don't do him a lot of good here for a while until he can force something out of B. And B with, the Dolly horses researched in, now looking to take an engagement. And I think he'd win that fight. It's 9 to 10 or 10 to 10 now on the Lancer count. Again, B's probably only constrained really by how much resources he has to pump him out. CSO's macro looking really clean as he's got very few resources in the bank and nothing but military units on the field. As here comes the first clash and the dive. Scout goes immediately down, absorbing the charge as a raid happens in the back. B onto the gold vein, gets 2 kills for his effort.
and CSO doesn't notice.
Engages in the front. He's completely absorbed by the front fight. Still hasn't picked up on the fight. The Lancer's taking down 3.
Oh, that is so painful.
This is huge for B as he's winning the fight up front too.
Yeah.
The bills are still going down. He doesn't see it.
Beautiful timing here by B, not only charging into the Knights to distract CSO, and at the same time, this one single Lancer finding such a ridiculous amount of value.
8 villages dead, that is crippling damage here for CSO in this game so far. Now, the economic count is not looking too bad for CSO, courtesy of those Imperial officials, but that's such a bad start to this castle age here for CSO, on top of getting pushed back in that frontal fight as well. B firmly in the lead now.
He's lost like 2.5 minutes of villager production right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that is insane. That is such a bonus to take early in the game. Only not even 12 minutes in the game, you drop 8 villagers on your gold. It does not feel much worse than that. And you're militarily like barely ahead. You've got 3 more Lancers than your opponent, but they're also beefed up Lancers with the Dolly horses. I mean, this is going to pay dividends. Even though CSO may have gotten the sheep, B might just get the last laugh here, at least as far as vills go.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a beautiful read there by B, right? Because he knows the tiny gold veins on this map. He obviously realized his own gold mine running out, so knew that because CSO is doing exactly the same thing as he's doing, that his own is going to run out in turn because of the expense that those knights put on gold. And just a single Lancer in the right place at the right time can really swing a game here. As B, 6 more Lancers in queue. He's firmly set on this, and I don't think that long term this is a fight that CSO can win.
Yeah, it's he's in a tough spot, right? Gosh, losing that many early just feels, it can set the tone for the whole rest of the game, where you're just always behind. And once you get at this level of play, once you're behind a little bit, it can be so hard to claw back if your opponent doesn't make any mistakes. And it makes me feel better as a player myself, and maybe the viewers at home probably feel the same, that like, even these top guys who have been playing exceptionally well will sometimes just not notice lone Lancer on their gold vein killing villager after villager.
It's true. It's just so tough to pay attention to everything at once, right? The attack notifications, they make the same sound, and using the hotkey to focus on it focuses on different ones, but you gotta be careful which one you focus on. As B, now with the Lancer lead and building still behind this, regional inspection as well as red seals has been researched by 3DB, now up to 5 Imperial officials. 6 ones should be on the way soon as well, I would assume. The only tough part now for B is finding many different places to supervise. Double stable now being supervised by him, as well as the mill, and the rest of his income as well, most likely.
At this point, a couple relics coming in for CSO. That could help him. I mean, frankly, he really needs to find some little edge in this. If he can get the majority of the relics, that'll help him go a long way. However, we see a religious man falling to the sword of a Lancer there with a relic in hand. Thankfully, it's close to the base. Should be able to still secure it eventually, though. But losing the unit never feels good. At this point, 28 Lancers on the field for B. He is really looking scary. 24, 25 for CSO, so he's got a formidable mass of his own. Meanwhile, I like that 3DB is just claiming that center gold, saying, hey, I'm up enough, I can do this. And he's got the sprinkled towers to boot, so not something that CSO wants to dive underneath. And he's going to be repulsed back to his base.
Getting control of the central large gold vein for B is such a big advantage for him, right? Only he did it after that initial fight there when he gained some map control, and that gold vein there equates to almost all the other golds on the map in terms of amount, right? at least for one side, that is. So it's such an immense amount of gold that B has access to now, and as you mentioned, with the Springle Towers, it's going to be virtually impossible for CSO to crack, making pure Knight here. And I'm just surprised that he's still sticking to full Lancer when his Lancers are just inferior in every way to B's here.
Lancers in the base, villagers going down even more, get trapped in body block. They can't even reach the TC. And now it just feels like B is just charging in. He just doesn't even care. He said, hey, your base is wide open. I can come in and do some war crimes in there, right? Now, CSO trying to get us some kind of a block and get some return value, but not going to get a single Lancer for the effort.
Exactly.
B just extends the lead even more, and you can just see militarily and economically, B is just ahead. And meanwhile, this isn't even his full mass. He's got another group of raiders out in the bottom south corner down by the south gold.
Yes, exactly.
Even here, little charge and run.
The Lancer numbers getting away here for B a little bit, right? He's able to have this split group here to keep CSO's mass in check with his main force of Lancers, whilst behind this, raiding as well as the group of Lancers moves into the position straight towards CSO's food economy, and he's not noticed yet. He charges in. Many villagers going down behind this.
Well, not to mention the idle time behind this, right? So this is just adding insult to injury. I mean, he could just sit here and fight. There's nothing else to defend it. Those Lancers aren't going to do anything. They're just going to fall, and one goes down. Big fight here outside of B's base. Now, that's a lot of Lancers for CSO, but unfortunately, the attack speed's just not as much as it is for B with the Dolly Horseman. I mean, so he's just going to slowly but surely start whittling away at this mass.
On top of the additional damage as well from having level 2 Bloomery in as well, B's just ahead in every single metric here, militarily, in eco, in techs as well. CSO on his last limbs here, and he knows it. GG is cold. B takes game number 5.
And we've got a match point on our hands as B now looking to finish this one off and try and keep CSO away, who's been barking at his heels the entire series. It's now 3-2. What an interesting matchup that. You know, I wasn't expecting mass Lancers and only Lancers from both sides, but I gotta admit, it was pretty fun to watch. Dolly Horseman, what a great tech to use. I mean, going for the different, you don't usually see that landmark being used from Zhu Shi, but then to take that and then get the fast upgrading timing, get the Dolly Horseman, get all those things going, and then just pump the earth with Lancers. But man, how much did that raid on the gold affect things? You can see there in the economy count, you can see where it hit.
Yeah, it made a massive difference.
Tough hit. That raid, I mean, it could have made all the difference, really. I mean, long term, but oh my gosh, stealing the deer as well. What a funny moment that was.
It definitely was, right? I mean, it's one of those things, just to make sure he's paying attention. And yeah,
I'm sure
this
Lancer here, this
hero Lancer here on this gold. When CSO is most distracted, right? That Lancer, the thorn in his side. Realistically, not to discredit CSO, but I just think long term, even losing those vills, just pure Lancer against pure Lancer, it's like, you know, it's like playing Knights with Rus up against French only. They just have the better Knights, right? It's not a fight you're gonna win. Even you might have a slightly superior economy. It just doesn't work in terms of the way the armies trade, right? They're just better because of the attack speed. But the issue is, on a map like this especially, right, moving into a static composition with the spears, with the crossbows, it forces you into a different kind of game that CSO may not be too comfortable to play with. We have seen that he does have a very high priority in most of his games towards that mobility, towards that
you
cavalry,
can see in this,
right?
In this fight right here, you can just see the Dolly Horses upgrade just really shining through. I mean, because it was pretty even number of Lancers. They each have about the same health, but just the attack speed bonus. I mean, that's all it takes sometimes. And then you mentioned the Bloomery upgrade, and then it's too much.
Too much indeed.
Too much. We go to Relic River coming up next in 2.5 minutes. Game number 6. Man, this one could go the distance. As we see CSO pulling out, that's his classic Civ, right? The Japanese.
Oh yeah,
CSO. Dealt some serious damage with that one.
Ooh, CSO Japanese on Relic River. We're gonna have a banger of our game on our hands here. For those who don't know, CSO has become notorious for his develop. He wasn't the first one to do it, obviously. You know, there's a bunch of people who did this before, but CSO has really brought out the Buddhist monks in force this tournament, notably against Wham in the group stages. Now, whether he'll do it here today again, is something we're going to find out very, very soon. But against something like Royal Knights and JD, I wonder actually,
Yeah.
do the Buddhist
Go for it
monks
still?
debuff JD?
Oh, that's a great question. We're hearing from production that the answer is yes.
Wow.
So, oh, that'd be so. I'm really excited to see this game. This might be one of the most exciting games we've had. Doesn't affect her abilities though, is what I'm being told. So
That makes sense. That makes sense.
that makes sense. That makes sense. But still, I mean, what an interesting play. And yeah, with a very interesting Japanese to be seen. Of course, we've seen JD be played by B, and he's already won a game with JD. So looking to do so again. This is, of course, a match point. If B wins this one, he moves on, and CSO is sending his bags packing home. However, if CSO can take this game and tie things up, we're going to go the distance. So,
Absolutely.
gosh, I don't know who I give the edge to in this one. I mean, I have to see so many things. I'm not super duper familiar with the way CSO build would interact with like JD and with like Knights, but on a map like Relic River too. You know, fun fact about Relic River, this is the only map that has a quote unquote waterfall on it in AoE 4 at the moment. Free actually too, if you look at the way it cascades down.
And quite the pretty ones they are, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun looking thing. It looks a little janky in spots, but like the way they've done it to make that look like a waterfall, really interesting stuff on the map making behind that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Relic River it's a very aesthetic map, right? It's a very nice looking map, I must say, and it's nice to be able to debut it officially here in the Elite Classic 3. Now, particularly curious how this early game will look here for these players, right? Because of the presence of a fairly decent number of shoreline fish in that south side of the river, it means that it may become an impact in the game. And already CSO spawning in the west side of the map as the orange Japanese, starting with the barracks here for us, facing 3DB's Jeanne d'Arc in the color green.
Now we're into game number 6 here. 3DB is up by a game. CSO hoping to go the distance and win this one to go to a game 7. Otherwise, it'll be B in the semifinals next week. You know, Relic River is interesting because the river's always north to south from what I've seen. I've never seen it go east to west.
That's true, right? Even, you know, I guess sort of in a way the predecessor to this map, Mongolian Heights, even that sometimes spawns in different trajectories, right? Depending on the way players spawn and the river spawns. But yeah, you're right. It's not the case for Relic River. It is always directly vertically bisecting the map. And
sort of like Mongolian Heights, right? The water is always on the east side in Mongolian Heights. Or not, sorry, not Mongolian Heights, Golden Heights.
That's right, yeah.
That's right. Well, we're off to the races here. Looks like was that spear trying to push the deer in?
Probably is the case. I think B made a swift denial on that deer, right? And this is, it's a weird thing to do because it's good that you're not allowing the spears to shove the deer in, right? That's always something you want to prevent if you can. But the time it takes to do that may mean that overall you might find yourself at a sheep deficit as a result of it, which we're going to see whether that is the case once the initial scouting is finished. Now, notably, there's no dog play here for either player. However, B actually, his own spears opening.
Very interesting. What do you think the play for that would be? What purpose? Is that just to defend his own stuff or to push his own deer in?
I mean, this is something we've seen JD do a little bit more recently. It's always something she could do in the past, way better than something like French, right? Specifically because, you know, JD actually really benefits from building these extra buildings and you know, especially if you go for a tower on the front or something. But I think you're right. It's a play not only to deny any kind of shoving from CSO's own spears, but also to maybe shove in his own there, as we see, the spears from B moving into position now to get that close deer back in nice and safe for him.
Would we call this strat the pro spear strat?
That's a really good name, actually. Yeah, that's perfect.
Pro spears. As we see both players doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, I mean, I guess maybe B was inspired by CSO to do the same thing, or maybe that was just always the plan. I would not have thought to do that, but I guess they're going for their own pro spears strat here. No other Dark Age aggression, though, as they're just kind of gearing up for the age up. We got the Kura Storehouse coming in for CSO. Fun fact about the Korra storehouse, people maybe know this intuitively, but the first farm always appears on the northwest corner, or as close to it as it can for that, when the farms start popping up.
That's true indeed. So if you're a keen architect, one can in fact lay out their base in advance that way to make sure that the farms spawn safely, as CSO does.
So those first three farms will be on that top corner, that top left corner of the building. It'll kind of just go right next. Yeah, those first couple farms will be right next to the TC because they always spawn on that north side.
The risk with this, though, is that the Kure is very much at the front, right? So if he looks to make some concentrated aggression, denying those farms could be pretty painful here for CSO if it does come to that. However, B, now getting close to his own age up, now the School of Cavalry quite a bit behind because of that spear opening, right, which is notable here for him. But he does get the entirety of his deer pack safely under his TC, whereas CSO only had 2 deer left alive to push in for himself.
Yeah, good denial there by B, just to say, no, you got to get the real, no pro spears here. It's got to be real pro scouts if you want to bring them back to base.
Interestingly here for B, only JD
going on the... Well, lots of spears moving out, too. This is kind of where these players being so unorthodox kind of pops into play. This just plays out very differently than I would have expected, but lots of silly spear shenanigans here in Dark Age.
It's true, right? There's a fair few possibilities here with the deer shoving, with the possibility of a dock, neither player opting for dock here, but B is going to go for the greed and is looking to try to shove in his second deer pack now. One spear is peeled away to chase that scout. The other deers do go down, but I don't think CSO can linger here for too long.
This is really reminiscent of like the Roos bounty before the update, right? Before they made the changes where you had to go snipe the deer. It's kind of fun to see them chasing each other's deer around and trying to snipe it. No bounty to be had, just a pure resource denial of saying, hey, if you want this, come out and get it.
Yeah.
You know, from what I've seen too, spears have a much better area of effect for pushing the deer than scouts have. Scouts have to get pretty close to them to push them, whereas spears just need to get, I mean, in the general vicinity, they'll push them a lot easier. So you'll have a much easier time pushing deer with spears than you would with your scouts. As we see JD now on the field, she's going to chase this one spear down. I wonder if she'll be able to catch up. Movement speed should be the same for both. No, she's a little bit faster, so she will catch up and gets him.
Nice finish off.
She was faster than spears. I learned something new today. I did not realize that she was faster than the baseline spear.
I'm not sure if she might be, but I think the charge came there in at the end just to close off. I'm not exactly sure. So 1.38 on her. And if we check one of B's spears, I guess we can find out. Oh, she's actually faster. Wow, that's...
Yeah, she is. She's 1.3. Yeah. I didn't know that. I did not know that, but she is faster than the normal spears would be.
Yeah, that's certainly paying dividends there. There's a nice bit of XP going over to B. CSO Scout checking around the base, seeing what B is up to. One knight now on the field for him, and CSO is wasting no time. It's Castlage for him.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. You can't contest knights and stuff against Joan of Arc in Age 2. Like, you don't even want to mess with it. You need to get your own mounted samurai on the field. JD onto the Vils, gets a hit. Can she kill him? Trying. Does not. Just does some damage. Getting some idle time on the gold, however.
Yeah, decent bit of idle time here. JD does have to be careful, though. You don't want to lose too much HP here, especially in the lead up to this Castlage here from CSO, which is pretty much uncontested for him in this spot. It's not like B is in a position to, you know, all in here or shove CSO off of gold. So he's just going to go for his own age up behind this, as we see. It's going to be the floating gate here for CSO, so no Buddhist monk shenanigans this game.
Yeah, I think we've had enough shenanigans in the Dark Age, so he opts to do the more traditional choice, going for the Shinto priests and the Yorashiro, which of course will help boost his eco over time. Curious if he'll try, and he's got the stable right next to it, so that tells me he's going to drop that Yorashiro #1 straight into it and start pumping out the mounted samurai.
It makes sense,
yeah,
right?
Sure enough, you can see it's rallied right there too, so he's got that definitely in mind. Well, we've had some feudal games, we've had some Dark Age shenanigans, now it's going to be fast castle for both.
Yep, we're getting the full coverage of strategies.
The Guild Hall.
And Guild Hall here for B makes sense, right? There's no speakable knight count here to speak of, and just having that little bit of extra scaling really, really helps out here for B. And notably, I think playing knights as JD here or French, technically they're stronger with royal bloodlines, but getting to that stage is quite difficult without conceding too much control over the rest of the map to the Mounted Samurai initially, and then obviously you have the threat of Onimusha as well. I think B, we're most likely going to see a very heavy priority into the Arbaletria here for him.
If you had to pick baseline between these two units we're looking at right now, the Mounted Samurai in Castle Age versus I guess this is a feudal royal knight, so I would definitely pick Samurai in this case. But if he was upgraded to Castle Age, which would you give the edge to?
The Mounted Samurai will still win.
Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
Surprisingly so. Even I
mean, that deflective armor helps a lot, I'm sure.
It's so big, yeah, it's so significant, and even with the extra damage from the Royal Knight, I think the Mounted Samurai has a few extra stats as well compared to him because of the extra cost. I'm not sure. I think it's more health, if I'm not mistaken, or more damage. I don't remember exactly. 24 damage, 230 health, compared to, well, the Royal Knight's not upgraded yet, so I guess we won't see it.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I can't just look at it right now and say, but
sadly,
yeah, obviously in feudal age they would clearly win, but in Castle Age it gets a little closer. Of course, then they get like royal bloodlines, and that gets into the mix, and you start adding some other grades. Like, at what point do they start getting the edge again? But Mounted Samurai definitely hold their own. We do see relic number 1 coming in for CSO. A benefit of going for floating gate is he gets that Shinto priest able to hop out and go grab a relic really quick after dropping off his Yoroshido. See the first couple farms coming up. That's one nice thing about Japanese too, is you just get that automatic transition into farms for free. As we see a knight maybe going down, gets the last hit, and that's a big pickup for CSO.
Definitely a good pickup there for CSO. And as you mentioned, the Kurostoas, yeah, such a valuable landmark for Japanese in all matchups, but especially a volatile one like this. It makes their transition in terms of food so much smoother than other civilizations. And as you get up in those daimyo levels, the gather rate on those farms becomes very competitive on top of it. So it's a very good, very, very potent source of food income for them. Still Mounted Samurai coming out here for CSO. Shinto priest getting produced as well from the monastery on top of the floating gate.
He really wants those relics, it looks like. Which, I mean, why not? I mean, getting that advantage early is just going to be so helpful long term, because you know that B has that guild hall, and so he's going to get the extra resources. He's going to have much easier time getting up to the next age as well, because he can just let that sit in the investment and then pull it out and cash it out when he needs. Right now, only 140, not a lot, but of course it's exponential. It'll grow just like a portfolio of stocks would grow exponentially over time.
Music to my ears when you say that. As Mounted Samurai look for a charge in here onto the scout. They do pick him up, so nice little denial of information there. Straight away, Beast queues up another scout at this point in time. And it is going to be Darba de 3 as the main unit of choice here for B, which makes a lot of sense. Historically, Japanese is a civilization that has really struggled against these kind of mass infantry, strong, steadfast mass infantry civilizations that have really, really powerful armies, such as the Arbaletria for JD or English with their network of castles. They find it difficult to deal with the crossbowmen having not access to it themselves, as long as there's something defending it.
Yeah, I do like the choice to go Arbs. I mean, it's arguably one of the best units in the game, just hands down. It's just so good, so cost effective, so tough to take care of. That with some Royal Knights against the Mounted Samurai, that's definitely the right answer. It's definitely what I'd be building. Not that I know better than B. Clearly, he knows better than I would, but picking such a good unit. Interesting that the Yoroshido has been placed into the lumber camp. That's an interesting choice. He's got another one sitting right there that's queued up, that's just sitting there. I wonder how long he'll sit there with the box.
Oh, yeah.
Put that next Yoroshido at.
He's going to notice, right? I mean...
Will he notice? We'll have to come back at that and see.
Yeah. Check. Oh, there he goes.
There he goes. Puts it into the house. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's much better than I'd be. I'd leave that there the entire game.
Yeah,
getting the extra food and the extra... So getting some passive resources from that. Interesting choices.
Yes, it's interesting, right? I'm not sure if you remember, there was that nerf a while ago onto the Forge's gold income when you deposit your share inside it. So I think it works out through, I think it's 66% of the income that a lumber camp Yorishiro or a farmhouse Yorishiro gives, but they're slightly different as well. So it's just, obviously you don't get the gold, but it's still more income. So I guess he deems it worthy.
Well, he's getting the relics. He's got 3 in at home and 1 in hand. So he's got 4 relics. That's more than enough to make up any deficit of gold he would have had otherwise from the Yoroshido in the forge.
That's right.
Lots of barracks coming up.
Yeah.
Is this going to be an Onobugeisha rush?
It's going to be a mass Onobugeisha switch here for CSO, which, I mean, you know, technically it should work well against crossbows, but these aren't any crossbow Sokoten, as you well know.
Arbaletier, yeah.
They're Arbaletier. The additional melee armor on these units is so significant, and is going to make it, with effective kiting, that even the Onobugeisha will just be tickling them, and they'll just die to the kiting. And if you just add a few
they are
horsemen,
cheap. If you can spam enough of them, though.
yeah.
There's a world. They are pretty quick too. They're pretty quick if fleet of foot. If they can surround the crossbows, there's a world where maybe with the mounted samurai helping out.
You did hit the nail on the head. It does come down to that surround, doesn't it? CSO is going to try to look to see if he can sort of bait B into a full sense of security, get him to move out, potentially, and then completely envelop him with a mass of Onobugeisha. But it's a very risky play. It's the kind of play which, if it works, you win. But if it doesn't, you kind of just lose, because you're stuck with a unit that is not great in a direct engagement, and your opponent's economy is scaling really well because of that guild hall and the consecration. The Japanese are no slouches either, of course, but if you commit for this kind of a play, it really needs to pack a punch.
Engagement here. Arb's trying to take out a mounted samurai. Looks like he gets away with most of his limbs still attached. Lots of movement from JD. However, behind this, CSO has got 5 of the relics now. The 5th one is in hand, heading home right now. That's going to really help counteract the bonus that JD is going to get from the guild hall. And with that and all the farms being set up for free, I feel like CSO is in a very secure spot right now. Militarily, he needs to take a good fight, and this is his game. But that's way easier said than done, right? With Arbs and Horsemen on the field. You see now 36 Onobugeisha, 10 more coming in. This could catch B off guard, because I don't know if B's gotten a chance to take a look at that base. And he's hiding them. He's really hiding them back behind. They are currently attending their church services next to the Shinto priest's home. Getting ready, saying their prayers to the ancestors, getting ready to head out and potentially surprise B.
Making their rituals before the battle commences, right? Absolutely, as this is quintessential Onobugeisha play here, right? This is exactly the way you want to try to take them for a surprise. But B smells something, right? He knows something's wrong. He's only seen just a few mounted samurai running around the map. He's gonna send his own raid, maybe not only to do some damage, but also gain some information. But CSO is relentless with this denial of information.
54.
Yeah.
55. Oh, this is going to be really fun. AD goes down. Great pickup by CSO, sniping her right out in the open. What was she doing? She showed up in the wrong neighborhood with no escort and just got picked off like a bug. And here, the horsemen, you know, horsemen aren't going to go very good against Onobugeisha. I'm like, the arbs are really dangerous, but horsemen are just going to get shredded. It's going to be like walking into a blender here with all those little spinning blades coming up.
You're completely correct. The horsemen will not do great work against these Onobugeisha. The only thing they will do is afford some space for the Arbaletier to get out, maybe. But
I think B expects Yumi rush. I think he's expecting the Yumi rush. And that's maybe why he's going mass horses.
There's a possibility, because it has been more common to see Yumi recently, especially since the decrease to their cost, right? So, yeah, so looking to switch it around here today.
Well, and it worked for him as Jushi against Delhi. Maybe it'll work here as Japanese against Joan of Arc. Oh my gosh, those crossbows, those Arbaletiers are just out in the open, just asking for it. That could be the wraparound. Here they come, and remember, the Onobugeisha are fast. And here they go.
They're really fast, and B is completely unprepared for it. He has no answer for these Onobugeishas.
Here they go. They overtake him like a foot race. And just like I was in high school, I got beaten by the faster kid. And here they go. The surround happens, and the spinning Beyblades go wild. It's like a blender. The shredding. Even the horsemen can't save him. The arbs go down. Joan of Arc's just trying to help out in whatever way she can. She gets upgraded somehow in the time being. But it's too much. 81 to 31 military. The Onobugeisha are still spinning to win.
The envelopment is absolutely stunning here from CSO, finding the perfect timing exactly when B finally found a bit of room to breathe and venture out towards that mid-map. The split off of the crossbows in the south bites him back so painfully as they all get enveloped and die. The Onobugeisha, a lot of melee armor on these Arbaletiers, so they do a good job of holding the ground initially, but now The army count speaks for itself. B on his last legs in this game as the Honor Bugeisha marched relentlessly into the base to take out whatever is left of B's economy. Meanwhile, triple
Holy
sacred site
smokes,
lock-in.
What a play. I am absolutely stunned. What a fun turn of events that ended up being. Armed numbers down to 12. And you can start flooding more mounted samurai and keep making more. He's got 59. Ono Bugeisha still on the field to play. And now they find the Vils too. No one's safe. They've got nowhere to run. They're going to get blocked before they get to the TC. And they get him. Spin to win is still on the menu. Vils going down. It's 18-1 villager kills. 19 now. There's nowhere for B to run, and this game is basically going to be over.
Nowhere to run and nowhere to hide anymore, as with level 2 undermesh with these Honor Bugeishas, it's not like the TC fire is going to do too much to offset them here, and B knows it. It's just too much.
Called. You spin to win, and it was one of the funniest reveals I have ever seen in a game. He tucked him back away, and I think what hurt for B is that he thought there was going to be a Yumi rush. He seemed to think there was going to be Yumis on the table, and instead CSO says send the spinning ladies out, and Tora's called. He just absolutely beats him. The foot race, the surround, and now CSO has gone the distance with B. We are going to a 7th game.
Indeed. The deciding match.
Did you expect a 7-game gone the distance as we started this out? We were like hyping up the fact that, it's been 9-1 all time.
Yeah.
Against CSO, and here he is showing that he can hang with the top guys.
CSO has come into this tournament like a rocket, I must say. He is looking to take severe games off of some really, really scary players, taking out Anatan in the round just before this, and now has his sights set on the one and only 3DB as well, taking him all the way to game number 7, and what a finish in this one. As you mentioned yourself, 100% B had an inkling feeling towards those Yumi, as that's what we've been seeing lately, right? That's what's so effective. Japan is known nowadays for just those Yumi, how effective they are, especially now with the cheaper cost. CSO using that knowledge to his advantage, instead flipping the script, going the other way around. And his Honor Bugeisha, the envelopment is just too much.
Those blades just spinning back and forth. Man, that was such a fun reveal, and I love the build up behind that. Like, we just knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, and when we saw that was what happened, we just knew what was going to happen, and that surround happened just perfectly for B, or for CSO against B. Goodness, Ono Bugeisha rush for the win. What a fun way to take this into a game number 7.
Absolutely. The stakes are higher than ever here in this series. 3-3, neck in neck, and another quite an interesting matchup to finish off as well. We get you mentioned earlier, we saw Dark Age, we saw Feudal Age play, we saw Cast Rush, we saw everything. Now in the final game, we're gonna have what is likely to be a boom off for the very first time in this series, as we have some of the best booming civilizations in the game currently, with CSO picking the House of Lancaster and B opting for the Malians in the final game on Sacred Grove.
This will be a fun one. Going the distance, man. I expected CSO to play really well here against B. I really did. Like, I know historically he had, not been as good against B. The B has been just kind of sweeping the floor. I had a feeling he'd at least take a game or two today. But to go the distance, I am just massively impressed with CSO. And, we can't take anything away from B either. He's been playing well. It's not that he's played horribly bad and he's just losing. Like, they both have taken 3 games apiece. It feels like both these guys almost deserve to move on. Unfortunately for everyone at home, there can be only one. And so one of these 2 excellent players is going to move on. And it all comes down to one last game. At the end of the day, it comes down to one game. And we got 50 seconds to get ready for it. Myriad, this has been a lot of fun so far. We still have a whole nother series after this, too.
It has. What an explosive set so far. No, exactly what we expected from these kinds of players, right? B and CSO, both just so entertaining to watch, just masters of their craft in what they do, right? As CSO is looking to definitely secure himself that kind of respect. And he certainly has so far. Incredible performances by him, and is looking to just like Cal says, make cinema in this set here.
Absolute cinema it has been. I mean, gosh, what a fun. I think that right there has been my favorite game so far. And we've seen some fun ones on Frisian Marshes, on Carmel was a lot of fun. Dry Arabia was really fun one. Relic River, I mean, that one takes the cake for me though. But it all comes down to one last game. We are in game number 7. CSO and B duking it out like the heavyweights they are. Here we go in the orange again, as it's been as Lancaster, and in the green again. Now it's B with the Malians. And we got an immediate Dark Age barracks popping up for that Lancaster having a barracks, which look he's going to be contesting some of the houses on the gold up front. And the scout already takes a look at that too.
It makes a lot of sense here in this position as CSO, right? There is a tendency, due to that retracted wood line on here, Sacred Grove, similarly to Gorge in the way it spawns, where it's very likely for that gold to spawn in a somewhat exposed position. CSO, of course, knows this, and House of Lancaster definitely no slouches in the Dark Age, thanks to the boosted gather rate from the sheep that they have innately, combined with the additional 2 that they start with, means that they can have a pretty good Dark Age here in terms of economical prowess as the spears are moving across the map. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see a tower potentially being prioritized by CSO as well. But first, I guess he wants to confirm whether he is going to opt for his own barracks, which, judging by the double house and wood gathering, is likely a barracks for him as well.
I think this is a matter of A moving. Did he A move through these wolves? Looks like he's attacking them.
Yeah, he definitely
That's
has.
a bit of a misplay. I set it and forget about it, except Bitey Infantry goes bite, and that spear's down to half health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only 2, this is one of the first times I've seen a player only go for 2 houses. I had been saying throughout the series as I've gotten to cast some of these games that Malians, seems like it used to be going for 6 houses was greedy, but it's become the meta. This is the first time I've seen a player not go for all 6, maybe anticipating the Dark Age aggression.
Yeah, so the 2 houses opener for Malians is specifically catered around this barracks here that B has just dropped down. You go for the double house to give you the population, give you the gold income necessary, and then an extra 50 wood from your secondary straggler tree will give you enough wood for a barracks. Now the first Donzo is out onto the field. The key here for B is to use these spear throws to his advantage, but the difficult situation for him is that CSO knows that these houses are crucial for B. With these houses falling, that is a severe amount of damage that B is going to take, because not only is he going to be pop blocked, but then he is also forced to use his wood that he would use for Donzos to rebuild the houses instead. So if this house goes down, B is definitely in a really tough spot.
He's doing a good job of keeping it up so far too. That villager, he's microing it very, very well. House is going to stay up for the time being. Spears tried getting a stab on the Vil, but it backed off just in time and is still alive. So some good micro here in the Dark Age right off the bat from B. Back and forth. Spears just trying to get something going. That house is going to take some more damage to go down first, though.
Notably here, there's no villager pull by CSO, right? So there's going to be no tower attempt here. Instead, it is a full committal to these spears, wanting to get as much damage as possible. And you can see why this opening from Onyx has fallen just a little bit out of favor recently, and why it's a bit tough to execute. There's such a fine balance between getting these houses, getting your wood as well as your lumber camp, whilst investing into Donzos at the same time, which costs 10 extra wood compared to regular spears. It makes the macro very, very difficult for Malians in this kind of a position, and CSO is looking to abuse that to its fullest.
Yeah, he gets that house finally down. It took some effort, took some micro, but he managed to get it. However, 2 more houses have popped up in the interim. That one spear is looking a little rough. One more throw of those spears from the Donzos and it'll go down. Trying to get this next house down, and that's enough spears. He might be able to do it. At what point, though, do you worry that CSO is also investing too much into the Dark Age here, as house number 2 is burning down to a crisp? Pretty good pickup there for CSO. Now takes a stab at the pit mine. That'll take a lot longer.
There's definitely a lot of damage already dealt onto B here. You can see how severely the Donzo count is suffering as a result of this wood deficit that he finds himself under. He had to invest in the lumber camp as well as these additional houses for his population. Again, B is pop blocked behind this. Now he's getting very close to an age up, but the issue is the CSO is still investing here, right? So he's going to go opt for the Mansakori, so no Saharan trade network to defend here, which means that although he's going to have the extra income from the Manza Quarry, he's still under severe threat here.
It feels like CSO is really trying to just take it to him. He knows that eco-wise, it's going to be hard to keep up with the Malians. And so I feel like he's just trying to get things going now. It gets a nice pickup on the Donzo right there. That's one down. The first kill of the game outside of buildings being torched. But yeah, the population really kind of hampering B here. He's going to get up in age. So CSO needs to be mindful that he can do the same here in a second or two. But another house is torched. I don't know if he can get Villager on time to save it. It's going to go down. And they keep aggressing the other one. Meanwhile, the pit mine's down to about 60% of its health.
Yeah, and this
down to about 50.
This damage is starting to mount up for B, I think, quite severely, honestly. I mean, the age up is on the way for him, but he intentionally slows it down to only 4 so that he can still have a relatively stable economy to keep making these Donzos. But I just don't think they're actually finding enough damage on these spears. It's so tough with this forward pit mine. Another house goes down for him. Pop blocked again, B is. He's forced to make another house next to his TC, and these houses are not giving him any gold income behind this. CSO is not far behind with his own age up, and even if B upgrades all these spears, he still can't contest this mass.
Yeah, this has been a really aggressive play. I know, I mean, House Lancaster is such a new Civ on the scene. I wouldn't have thought of them as a Dark Age playing Civ, but it's working against Malians, and maybe he kind of has to against Malians, right? You gotta do some kind of damage when they get so much stuff early on. Because this pit mine really isn't even able to stay up and up. The villager's trying to keep it going, but it's losing health by the second here. Now we see Abbey of Kings coming out for House of Lancaster. Now that's a bit of a different choice. I guess we're gonna get some Lords on the field to play today.
Yeah, the Lords even today are severely underestimated, but I would argue that the Abbey is actually the superior landmark in most situations compared to Lancaster Castle.
Oh yeah.
The extra health. Yeah, the extra health from the Lords is so significant, especially in dealing with skirmishes like this. The extra damage, the
pit mine's so close. I almost kind of wish he would have just put a little more effort into it. I think he could have gotten it. I guess that archer is being a little difficult, but I think there was a moment where he could have torched that last pit mine. But he backs off, plays a little safe, and then yeah, he's healing up his stuff. Abbey of Kings. It's so I mentioned this earlier today that healing up units is like getting more units. It's so much value, and so this landmark, I think, even for just baseline English, doesn't get utilized as much as it should be. Like obviously people use the king for English, and with House Lancaster you get the Lords. I think using it as its original build was just to heal your units, I think is underrated in some ways. People don't utilize it as much as you can get a lot of value out of it if you use it.
Absolutely, and the value is being full displayed here, right? Keep in mind, CSO didn't lose a single spearman in that entire engagement. He intentionally pulled the ones that were 1 or 2 spear throws away all the way back to his base, specifically to heal with this Abbey, and is now, with 18 spears, a Lord on the field, more in queue, as well as Yeoman, he's going to look to fully reinvest in this feudal age whilst adding a few manners behind this, and really push B to the wall.
Yeah, if he can time this well and manage, and he's just got to work around those 3 to 5 archers that B's going to have here in a minute. If he can work around this well, but with the extra health and with the Lords, I think he's got a good shot here. If he could go in and maybe do some damage. He's moving forward with the army right now. Lords of Lancaster assemble, says CSO as he sends them forward. And here comes the swarm. This could be dangerous.
This is so dangerous, yeah.
Donzos are just going to get swept off the floor. Yeah, they back up immediately. A couple of archers on the field. So it looks like the first spear does go down finally for CSO, but he gets a house for the effort already. The villagers have to pull back. Lords of Lancaster onto the archer. They have to pull back, and this pit mine, I don't think it's going to make it. I think he could easily torch this thing down. Lords are looking for the archers, making them force back.
The pit mine's definitely looking to fall here. Yeah.
You gotta be careful of the Lord. You don't want to lose the Lord of Lancaster. Archer's doing some serious damage. That one down to about 45% of its health. The archers are becoming a problem. He needs to get more yeomen on the field. He does have a couple in the queue. Or he's got 3 in the field, I should say, now.
Yeah, the yeoman might be what is needed to turn the tide here fully in CSO's favor. Now, there's already a lot of archers on the field here for B. Now Sofa's in queue as well. This house is going to go down. Yeah, that's another
villager could have maybe saved it, but...
So he's going to pull back here to back up to
but the damage has been done, right? Like, that's enough. Like, he's done enough damage to make that worthwhile, I feel like, right?
Well, it's tough because Marlins is gonna cow boom behind this, right?
Yeah.
And you're on 1 TC with only 3 manas here as House of Lancaster. This pressure is something you kind of have to keep up here. Otherwise, I think Marlins will in fact outboom you in the end. He's setting up outposts here on the day. This day here is a very nice little play for CSO. It's definitely going to boost his economy notably. One of the kings did go down though, I think, right? Just there?
Yeah, I think I saw one of the lords. I think I saw a little like crown
One of the
shattering
lords,
above
yes.
his head. So a nice pickup then from B. You can see the destroyed value now, 809.45. So yeah, definitely got one of the lords there and a couple of spears to boot. And now pushing the gold. This could be a couple vills lost. Pulls back just in time. Needs a couple more yeomen to keep this thing going. But then, of course, behind this, you could see some javelins. We don't see any coming in the queue yet. It's been all archers so far. But once you get enough yeoman mass coming up, I imagine that'll be what he does.
Very dangerous for B to push so far here, right? The extra movement speed from the Yeoman can make it very difficult to actually pull back as necessary here. But luckily he is able to make some distance between his archers and the rest of CSO's army. As they do follow now, CSO looking to push forward, Yeoman and Hobblars now in queue, more of them. Gonna look to, and with this reinvestment into Hobblars, looks like Feudal Age is still very much on the cards here for CSO, but no upgrades in for him yet.
Yeah, B is very much investing as well in the same. He's got 2 cows of 20. So 2, 3 there now popping out. He's starting the cow boom ever so slowly. It feels like it has delayed this cow boom a little bit. The question is, I don't know if CSO has gotten enough. Like, the tricky thing with Malians just in general is you push into those pit mines and you are getting some damage. It's hard to quantify that damage though, because it gives you like a window, but it doesn't really, it's hard to kill your opponent. And I don't think he was planning on killing B right here and there, but it's hard to sometimes really get a grip on how much damage have you dealt. Was it enough? Was it not? At any rate, it feels fairly even. We see now Hobblars being shown off to B. He now knows they exist. That scout is not long for this world. They should be able to catch up. Nope, he's going to pull back instead.
Yeah,
He's on
maybe a
the deer.
bit
This
scared
deer's a
of
good
getting
pickup, though.
baited. Yeah, definitely. The deer is going to help expedite his income here quite
But
notably.
look at
As he
CSO.
does the fact- yeah,
He's going to go
Oscillate.
castle. Yeah, the white tower getting dropped. Oh, where's he putting that? Okay, pretty safe. I was going to say, I wonder if he was going to like, go white tower drop him or something. That almost could have worked, actually, if he was aggressive enough. But maybe, no, too many units there to try and be aggressive with that. As we do see Sofa coming out on the field.
It would definitely be a crazy way to try to close out this game for CSO in an effort of showmanship, win or lose.
Sofa felt like an odd choice into spears. I guess there's not that many spears left.
Yeah, I mean, Sophos is going to do pretty well, not only in terms of raiding, right, but also to deal with any kind of cartilage units from CSO if that is something he opts for, which is something B might be suspecting here potentially. Now, this timing is actually kind of scary coming in from CSO. We do have cows building up for B, but this timing with the upgrades for CSO as well as armored units might be very, very hard for B to deal with, as there's only one Musafadi on the field. There's no Donzos. There's no more Musafadi being added. I think there's only one barrack still. So finding the answers for, O's Guard as well as Knights here might be very tough for B.
I was kind of just saying too, like how much damage has been done. It looks like, I mean, at the moment, this is giving CSO a window, a really good looking window. He's up in castle. He's going to get some of those things moving and grooving. Sofa looking to get some picks if they can find it. They're not getting any openings. So far, CSO's done a good job of defending that deer spot as they look for another place to pick in. Hobblar's just kind of letting them chase around. Spears now after them. And it feels like there's a window now for CSO to do some damage. However, he's got to be mindful that the Sofas don't do damage back to him first.
Yeah, absolutely. B is going to look to cause distractions here and idle time with these Sofas, keep CSO at bay as much as he can to buy himself the time needed to keep adding these cows, amassing units. I'm pretty worried for B now, though. There's no priority being made towards any kind of Donzos or Musafadi, which might really, really hurt him. But it's tough because there are yeomen on the field, and those will deal very, very effectively against any kind of anti-armored units here from B. Now, the push is coming in. 4 Lords of Lancaster. The upgrade on the yeoman, I think, is through by now, if I'm not mistaken. O's Guard and Archers and Knights in queue as well. So there's no veterancy on the Yeoman just yet. This could be good here for B. The Hobblars triple Knight now moving in, targeting directly
onto the Archers and the Javs. That's no Donzos in sight. However, they've got to go back because the Yeomen are opened up to the Sofa. A good read by B to try and get on the units that matter so much. Do not want those yeomen getting in masses. They get enough numbers, that's going to be end. But however, on the backside, the Lords of Lancaster are saying, hey, we're still here too. Picking off the jav throwers behind it. And boy, there's just a kind of pandemonium. There's fighting all over the place. Spears coming in finally to chase after the sofa. More yeomen coming in. Lancers coming in as well. Earl guards just wandering around finding pickups as they can. A lot of them are really low on health.
Yeah, the Osgard doing so much work here as well for CSO. Not only the extra health, but they automatically get upgraded when aging up as well. Villagers starting to go down now for B. 2 dead already, 5 garrison, 10 garrison in the towers, more going down. Now 4 dead for B in this game. More Osgard on the way, more knights as well. And B, finding himself at an army deficit and age down is a horrible position to be in. CSO.
However, those spears can't stick under those towers. A lot of the static defense is keeping B somewhat in this. He's idling 10 villagers, which doesn't feel good when that's a quarter of your economy, but he's got all the passive resources coming in as well. Meanwhile, CSO is still up in age. B just has to kind of do the same thing he did as he was Delhi a couple games back, where he's just got to stay pumping units or he's going to get overrun. So the question is, can he let the passive income give him enough to get to castle or not? He's got a ton of food coming in now from the cow boom. 14 of 20, so he's getting lots of food coming in. Can he get enough gold, and can he save up enough? But meanwhile, more knights coming in for CSO. Gosh, it just feels like he's all over the place.
He really is all over the place, and he must be in this situation. This is a very committed push from CSO. 7 vills dead now for B, right? There's no more manors being added. There's no more stone being gathered. There's zero priority for relics whatsoever. CSO wants to finish this game and series here and now, as B looks to make a desperate defense up against these superior armored castle age units. The javelins and sofas doing good work here, trying to buy the villagers time to repair the outposts and hopefully get out with their lives. The lords are... One of them did die, but there's 3 more on the field that are going to come back into this fight very soon, and they might be what breaks the camel's back here as the knights doing so well up against the sofas. A lot of damage coming from the arrow fire, but those villagers, Socketen, they're stuck.
They're stuck, and he's down 8 now. Obviously, the passive resources continues to churn, but yeah, it just feels like he's got nowhere to go. If he could somehow manage to survive, maybe he's got a shot, but in come the lords again, and the knights just swarming around the sofa. No Donzos to take care of them, so they are just going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. And now getting the bonus of health with the lords.
What a brutal timing here by CSO.
Tough timing. Again, if anyone could find a way, maybe B could. But this is not where you want to find yourself as Malians right now. 17, almost 18 minutes into the game.
100%
CSO looking to take this series away from B.
He can smell
He's got
the
a
blood.
Shot. He
really does, right?
He can. B is kind of on the back ropes right now, trying to find a way back into this. He's got no gold. He's never going to get the castle. He's just sitting on the gold. There's no castle age timing for B to be had. CSO, I think he might have it, unless he throws this army away and somehow just completely throws and gets overwhelmed. But the white tower's there. I don't know if there's a way for B to get back into this game.
I don't know either.
Now, finally.
The issue here is that, just like you mentioned, Castle Age is a thing of the past. More survival is now the name of the game here for B, right? As he looks to make another desperate defense here. But the army value here just tells you all you need to know. It's so difficult here for B. More villagers in the south side getting discovered by the knights as they are chased to the woodline. More of them do go down.
One thing to keep in mind is that CSO has to keep this pressure up, though. He can't let B get into this. If B does somehow ever stabilize, he's got a pretty good sized mass of units. The tricky thing is that CSO's units are just so tanky. I think CSO is just looking for a way to close this game down. He knows he needs to keep the pressure up. It's hard to just keep running around your opponent's base, though. The defender's advantage definitely helping B out. He's somehow managed to just keep just enough units alive at any given point that he's not completely overrun. But a lot of weak knights. I need to get those guys back and heal them up, I think. That could be a really good use if he wants to go back, heal up the knights, then send a big mass all together.
Yeah,
B's holding on. B's holding on. And if he can find a way into Castle Age, that could be really good with the sofa. They pick off a knight. Sorry, not
Yeah, this
Musafadi,
is decent here for B, right? He managed to find that Musafadi count needed to deny those knights. I think CSO, again, might have just gotten just a little bit impatient here, and it's working against him. There needs to be a much bigger yeoman mass here to offset this kind of Musafadi count, which he did not prioritize, right? It was pure Osgard, Lords of Lancaster, as well as Knights, which do very well, but that's the thing with Malians, right? They don't really mind. Out of all civs in the game, they probably mind the least being an age down, because they do have concrete answers to those armored units in the form of the Musafadi and then Donzo against Knights. And B now with newfound map control.
However, big kills right here though. Knights getting a couple of kills. It's 12-1 Vil kills. Thankfully for B, he's got the passive income. The tricky thing, kind of like you said, is he got a little greedy, and it was right when his food income was not very good. He went down to about 300 food a minute for a second there. Now he's back up to 1100. So he wasn't able to keep up the constant production. He really did need to back off just a moment and get that critical mass. As the Grand Fulani Corral does come up, B has navigated what felt almost impossible. He has managed to find himself aging up to castle. It's still going to be a little time before he gets fully online, however. CSO could manage it. However, he's down 10 military. There's a world where B can hold on. And again, this is the tricky thing about these pro players. With a cow boom and with some of the eco upgrades you can get, these top players can just stick around. As long as they're still in it, they can just hold on, hold on, hold on. There might be then the road to victory. And B might be finding it here. He's finding a way to extend this game and keep going.
He has to, right? I mean, at this point in time, with the Grand Fulani Corral coming up, I'm sure B, with the gold he has in the bank, he's finding himself a bit more extra breathing room to add those additional cows and propel his income forward. And the tough part here for CSO is that he's still on those 3 manas. As, yeah, now we see more and more cows being added here for B. Once those ranches fill up and B stabilizes, gets his upgrades in tow, if CSO can't finish him now, I think he's going to lose in a war of attrition as the clash does come in. The upgrades are hot on the way here for B. They do research faster for Malians. The question is if it is fast enough in this situation as a massive army of knights marches in towards B's base here, looking to put a nail in the coffin. But I'm not sure if he actually has the mass here.
I don't know if it's enough. B, it looks like B was eating some cows on the side there to keep himself in it, which is why he's only got a couple cows in those pens. They seemed a little empty when I looked at them just then. Big engaging here, trying to get the wrap around. Again, no Donzos. It's all Musafadi and Sofa. Lords of Lancaster trying to get in. They get the Bosa's health upgrades. Underneath the towers, they fight. It's a pretty scary mass. 40 to 22 military. CSO is cleaning up here.
CSO is completely cleaning up here. The Knights are doing so good against the Sofas thanks to the color of S's upgrade, and B's military count is non-existent.
And now the wheels start to fall off. 3 military to 37. Now can CSO close this game out? B's not going to make it easy. He's going to try every last opportunity he can find. He's going to pull every single thing he can to try and stay in this game, as it is the last game of a series of 7. Nice after the Vils. This is looking dire, though.
There's nothing left anymore, right? There's no more wood income. The gold income has plummeted. Food income is only sustained by the corral at this point in time. B desperately queuing up more units, but the Knights, 18 Knights on the field already, 4 more in queue. It is looking so dire for B. What can he possibly do to come back? 22 worker kills already. The TC does not have enough garrison slots to hold all these threatened villages. Pit mines are now starting to be burnt as well. CSO running everywhere on this map. The villagers make a desperate escape as they have to crawl back into this game. There's nowhere to go, Sockerton.
He's got no hope. Meanwhile, relics being gathered by CSO. He's moved out of the map, secured his food again. This game, CSO has gone the distance, and I think he might just finalize this series for himself. He has done what many would have said probably was impossible against B. CSO just looking so incredibly strong in this tournament.
CSO
continue. One to watch. Now, the winner of this game advances and plays. Let's see. We've got BC's already in the semis. Who's the other? I'll have to take a look at it and see who he advanced on to.
Louis, I think.
Louis? I think Louis, yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to check the bracket to see, depending which side. But
yeah, it looks like it'd be Louis.
Yeah, people are saying Louis in chat. Yeah.
What a game by CSO to take it in 7 games against B. And there's nothing B can really do but watch and internalize this. It's 71 to 53. No military to speak of. Everything's getting torched down. We see a forward siege workshop coming in.
Yeah, he is looking to completely close out this game. Ram on the way now as well, just to fully take down that TC. I'm surprised that CSO hasn't made a move onto the cow ranches yet. That's kind of the only thing keeping B in this game for now, even though they're not even full. Yeah, it's as if he heard me. If there wasn't delay, that would be suspicious, right? But no, now he makes the move. Yeah, the nice charge in, and with the collar of S's, they're gonna make very, very quick work of these sofas. You can see them melting so fast, as if they're being hit by crossbows, as the few yeomen are gonna clean up them with Safadis as well. And the numbers tell no lie, as the berries exhaust for B as well behind this 0 wood income. CSO is looking to cause another upset in the Elite Classic 3 here again, taking out Anatan in the round before, and now looking to take out B as well.
And now it's just a formality, right? You get the sense that B doesn't want to surrender. He just doesn't want to give it up. He just doesn't want to say that he's lost this one. But unfortunately for him, it's just going to become inevitable in a second here as the villagers now trying to torch the Rams. You get a sense that this is just last-ditch stuff. It feels like there's just no way back in it for B. All he's got is 40 villagers in a dream. And he finally calls it as CSO, after 7 incredible games, we've gone back and forth, takes it in game number 7 to move on to the semifinals. What a series this has turned out to be.
Absolutely unprecedented result. I don't think... No, CS was a great player, but I don't think anyone could have predicted really, like, well, it wasn't one-sided, but I think most people had B pegged to win in this series, right? A veteran of RTS and AoE4 especially has been here since the very beginning, placing really, really high in tournaments. And, you know, B recently has had even better performances than in the past, notably in the KPMM weeklies, right? Winning, I think he has the winning record for them. But today, CSO coming out swinging.
Yeah, just some excellent games, some excellent positioning. Both players really just, it's so well. But as we said before, there can be only one. And after what was one of the most exciting series I've seen in a long time, I think, CSO takes the victory and is going to move on to face Louis next weekend. Wow. What a series. I'm just looking back to that Relic River game though with the Onabu Geisha. I think that was the highlight for me. So that was just something out of this world. But congrats to both players on a series well fought. And CSO, the rising star. Can he go the distance? Can he keep going? We'll have to see.
Continuing to push deeper and deeper in these upper brackets. I'm almost breathless from this series. It was just so nail-biting, so close. In my mind, probably the best series of the tournament so far.
Yeah, I mean, of all the ones I've seen quite a couple of games, and I've gotten to cast quite a couple of these. I think this was by far one of the most entertaining back and forth series, because, you know, it's fun to watch a series, but it's not as fun when someone gets like swept 3-0 or something like that, or 5-0. It's always a little, you know, you don't want to see someone go down 3-0, 3-0, 4-0 in one of these things, but to have a series like this that just goes back and forth. Man, what a game. And it started with that Baldland game too, you know, that good pick on CSO, picking up Mongols to counter the Biz, playing it to perfection, and then moving on to the others. And we had a couple of pseudo mirror matches. Both of those actually went B's way. The pseudo mirrors went B's way, but then the other games going for CSO.
Yeah,
that Japanese game on Relic River. I'm gonna be thinking about that one for a while. That was
the
the way
classic.
he hid the Onabu Geisha in the corner, like purposely was hiding it. Man, it doesn't get much better than that.
So it looks like we do in fact have a CSO interview coming for us.
Oh, right.
Which will then be followed up by what is essentially a rematch of Red Bull Wallaloo Finals. Marine Lord up against Puppy Paw after that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Now we are just
Puppy Paw and Marine Lord have played off this tournament already too, and Marine Lord swept Puppy, I think, in that opening round in their series, right? So Puppy's gonna have his work, his revenge, the chance for revenge for Puppy Paw. We'll see how he does against Marine Lord. But man, It's gonna take me a moment to kind of calm down for this series. I'm excited to hear from CSO and his thoughts because, man, there's so much to talk about.
That there is, and just bear with us as we do wait for CSO to get in here with us, so we can have a bit of a winner's interview after this. I mean, can words even do this series justice? Really?
Can they? I don't know. I mean, after that Relic River game, I'm pretty hyped up about anything. That was, gosh, the way that like B just inadvertently was expecting the Yumi Ashigaru instead, expecting the Archer play, and then just getting the exact opposite. But maybe we can take a look at the brackets though. In the meantime, as we wait to hear from CSO, we can take a look at what's upcoming and what's come before. Take a look here. So here we have got the best round of 8. We are currently in best round of 6, which you can call the quarterfinals. We just watched B and CSO duke it out for a full series. Behind that, we had Anatan and CSO. CSO beating Anatan there. You can see that Vortex and Puppy Paw duked it out 4-2. So both these players, man, they've been dropping games in these very competitive series, but finding a way to win enough to continue on. So, I mean, it's anything. I mean, people who look at like Marine Lord Puppy Paw and might be thinking, oh, you know, Marine Lord's beaten Puppy Paw once this series already. He's beaten him in Red Bull. Well, he's totally just a shoe-in to win. I mean, look what just happened with B and CSO, right? You can't always look at past performance as predictive of what's going to happen. You never know. You never know. I'd be surprised if Puppy Paw doesn't at least catch a game or two this time.
Yeah, I think we definitely have to, dispense with any, especially after this series, we have to dispense with any previously assumed expectations of how a lot of these series will go, and go into it with a very fresh mind. Things are not as they seemed, right? Notably with CSO having such incredible results here and causing some, really unexpected upsets. I mean, he's always been known to be talented, but this weekend is on another level.
Another level indeed. Next week, we have, looking forward, we've got Louis gets to host now CSO. That'll be a fun series in the semifinals. Of course, Beastie's waiting to see the outcome of Marine Lord and Puppy Paw. So I'm sure he's watching this closely, waiting to see these two players duke it out momentarily. And then winner of those two, so we'll go to the grand final. All that, it's going to be next weekend. So next weekend on Saturday, it'll be the semifinals. Louis and CSO, and then Beastie and either Marine Lord or Puppy Paw. And then the winners of those two series will be moving on the next Sunday. So a week from today, into the grand final best of 9. We'll also have that third place match to see who gets number 3. And we've got CSO ready to go. So we'll be chatting with him just shortly. Hopefully. Doesn't have a camera. Okay. Can CSO, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Okay, so let's talk about the Onobu Geisha rush. Was that your plan from the very beginning to make that switch and to try and catch him off guard?
I just play random. How to say? I never played this matchup before this game.
Okay. Well, it worked out really well for you. So that was a really fun switch. That was one of the funnest moments of the series. How did you feel after you won game number 1?
What matchup is game number 1?
That was the Mongols game. You played Mongols into his Byzantines.
I think he will pick Byzantine in this map. So I pick Mongol.
Yeah, that worked out really well for you too. Well, I also need to congratulate you. Congratulations, by the way, on taking a full series against B. How are you feeling before knowing that B had previously beaten you every series? What were your expectations coming in?
I never expect that I can win.
Yeah, well, you proved everyone, yourself included, wrong then. As you shout out to production for giving us a great portrait there of you right there. Yeah, I mean, I think most people would have expected you to maybe not take this series, but you ended up going game after game after game. In that very last game against the Malians, you got really aggressive very early. Did you kind of feel that you were going to win it?
Yes, I think I had great advantage in early game.
Yeah, it definitely showed. I mean, that was a really good play with the spears. And so looking forward, how are you feeling about moving forward and going against Louis?
I think he will win.
You think he'll win? Well, we'll have to see in a week. I think you've proven to be a very capable and very powerful player. You've improved so much in this tournament alone. You've been playing very, very well. So congratulations again to you and for your success so far, and best of luck moving forward next week.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much, CSO, and we'll be excited to see him again next week. It's very late in China at this time, so glad that he's doing all this, and it's like middle of the night for him, right? So props to him for being able to get on, use English as a second language and be able to interview with us after taking a very, very brutal series. What a couple games that was. I'm excited to see him play next week. So
I mean, and especially after that series, poor guy must be exhausted, right?
Probably.
On top of having to speak in a language he pretty much never really has to speak in China, of course. It's tough. So thank you so much to CSO for gracing us with an interview after such a tough series. I mean, God, you'd have to revitalize me with electrolyte water after a series like that.